but I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please!
Won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Yo ho, yo ho. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. And hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? I hope everybody's doing well tonight. It is Wednesday night, and that's one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and those things are, that's right, aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. And, well, we do this show live. We do it to include you because, like I've always said, the secret weapon of troubled minds is you. And I have no inside sources. I just watch news cycles and try and make loose connections to things that are actually happening in the zeitgeist. Sometimes those things are innocuous. Sometimes those things are uplifting. Sometimes those things are terrifying. Hopefully always inspiring. And so the question is, well, we'll get to the question a little bit later tonight because we've got some things to get to first. But shout out to Jess Rogie if you're out there listening. Fantastic show there. Nice work on the Fringe and pro #pro. Thanks for putting up with me and all the audio madness we've been through. But very, very good stuff. Sounded good tonight. Great show, great topic, great content, and everything was fantastic. Very, 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 very good. So what we're doing tonight on Troubled Minds is we're going to do a little bit of conspiracy speculation theater, all right? I like to do this from time to time because, number one, you can only talk about what? You can only talk about, in particular, sometimes, vampires or ghosts or aliens or, I don't know, Neuralink and Elon Musk and Mars. You can only do some of this stuff so much, right? And then eventually you're just kind of like, yeah, let's do something wild, Let's do something like the Night Stalker says, something like, the psychic space octopus from another dimension. Stuff like that's a lot of fun because not only you get to really consider looking at some of the maybe some of the actual theoretical scientific basis for stuff like this, but you also get to dream. You get to dream big and consider that all of the things out there may not be as we see them, and that whole upside down bit, that maybe it is exactly as we think, or maybe it is exactly the opposite of what we think, and that's what this show's about. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, and we'll get there. And I've got this thread in my mind, and it goes a little something like, well, let's just brief it because it's too much. But let's say we're going to talk about string theory. We're going to talk about cellular death. We're going to talk about zombies and how all of that may come together. So that's what's up, and I promise you this stuff is in the news, and I do have sources to back some of this stuff up. So, well, conspiracy speculation theater tonight on Troubled Minds, because why not? And our good buddy Ash, the reptilian, usually co-host. He's been co-hosting on Wednesdays for quite a while, but he's been busy recently doing some other things. So we'll do Weird Wednesday without him and try and get super weird tonight. But so as you know, like I said, I have no inside sources, and the whole premise of this show itself is just a conversation, right? It's less of a show, more of a conversation to kind of stretch some ideas and get to the point where, well, we consider what's next, and the way we do that is by talking to each other. All right, and like I said, this is not the truth show. If you're looking for the truth, go turn on Sean Hannity or Don Lemon, and they'll tell you the truth. They'll be emphatic about it too. They'll pound their fist on the desk and they'll tell you the truth, right? But, well, let's be real. It's not as easy as that, is it? And so this is not the truth show. This is the question show. This is not about truth. This is about sort of questioning the reality we live in. This is sort of looking up instead of looking down. And that's the way I like to see this. But so before we do the rest of that, like I said, the secret weapon of this show is you. So if you want to be part of the conversation at any time tonight, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as we get going on the topic. And you can give us a call. We have a live phone line, as always, and you can dial 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. You can also click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. And there's a Discord link there as well. So if you want to call in and you're like, oh, I missed the number, I read it a lot. I read it fast, but you can find everything you need in one spot, troubledminds.org, the official website of this radio show, this YouTube show, this whatever this has become. It is interesting and nice with technology in this day and age where we can do many things at once, can we? Because we're streaming on several platforms. We're on digital radio. I'm waving my arms in the little window and, doing the whole thing. And it's pretty amazing and fantastic that at some point, all the technology can come together, and it's pretty good stuff. So, okay, so what we're going to do again, 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and Discord, of course, is a chat client. It's a voice client. We got to talk about it because it's amazing. It's a program that's free. It's completely free. They do not sponsor us. It's just that good, and it's bringing people together, and that's a good thing. That is good by me. So join it. It is free, and instead of the 702 area code, which is Las Vegas, of course, where we're streaming from. That's where the bunker is, out there in the out in the sticks by Area 51 somewhere. You can communicate with us on Discord. If you're in South Africa, shout out to Tam Bam out there if you're out there. If you're in the United Kingdom, shout out to Rohan or Penny Bunny. We have people listening all over the world, and and the UK, or see what I'm doing, too many things, too many places in my brain, but all at the same time. But so basically, if you're international, Discord is a free way to just talk to people. It's again, chat client, voice client, all the rest of that. So click the Discord link, troubledminds.org, and come join the show. Also, I'm watching all the chat rooms and all the places, and we have a Fringe Discord rolling as well. And if you click, go to fringe.fm/chat, that will give you a direct invite there. And if you pop in there, I'll say hi to you as well. And what else do we have? We're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And of course, we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And so the deal is this. If the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds and all the rest of the amazing programming on Fringe FM is download the app. Super simple. Go to your favorite app store. That would be Apple. That would be either iTunes or the Android App Store. And you could just download the free Fringe app and just smash the play button at 7 o'clock Pacific time Monday through Thursday, and you'll get Troubled Minds, and then all the amazing stuff that goes along with the Fringe FM as well. All right, so let's get to it. So in terms of weirdness, you want to get weird? Charlie in the chat over on Rockfin says, let's get weird. All right, your wish is my command, my friend. Let's get weird. All right, so I'm looking at the news cycles, and I'm looking at this, and oh boy, of course, things just seem to get more and more weird in just this the world we live in, right? Maybe it's we've talked about what the reasons may be. Maybe we're sort of media overload, some sort of hyper reality happening with fact and fiction colliding and creating this new thread of whatever the heck is actually going on here. But, well, check this out. We'll begin here. And this is from Live Science, and this is from 2 days ago. And we've talked about the Higgs boson, and we've talked about the actual universe ending in 2012, the Nick Hinton theory, which we'll get into a little bit tonight, because it kind of fits the vibe. So here's what we're going to do. The headline is this, livescience.com. The Higgs boson could have kept our universe from collapsing. Uh-oh. Other patches in the multiverse would have instead met their ends. Okay, all right. Let's read some of this, because what in the world is this? Because why not? The Higgs boson, the mysterious particle that lends other particles their mass, could have kept our universe from collapsing, and its properties might be a clue that we live in a multiverse of parallel worlds. A wild new theory suggests. You're speaking my language if you're talking wild new theories. This continues. That theory, in which different regions of the universe have different sets of physical laws, would suggest that only worlds in which the Higgs boson is tiny would survive. That's interesting. What does that mean? If true, the new model would entail the creation of new particles, which in turn would explain why the strong force, which ultimately keeps atoms from collapsing, seems to obey certain symmetries. And along the way, it could help reveal the nature of dark matter, the elusive substance that makes up most of matter. Okay, now look what they're saying here. Oh boy, this is a lot already. Before we even get going tonight, this is a lot. Check this out. They're saying that the Higgs boson, the size of this particular particle, which we've talked about in the past, they call this the God particle, all right? In the sense that it is the Higgs field itself is where energy passes through the Higgs field and becomes actual matter in our universe, right? And so the theory is, well, there's a lot of theories, and I think that if I try and explain it, I'm going to get myself dizzy. So I'll leave it at that. The God particle, the Higgs field is where energy passes through this field and becomes matter itself, all right? So if that's not God particle, I don't know what is. But okay, so that's what we're doing tonight. That's where we begin, okay? And they're saying that the size of this Higgs particle itself in different iterations of the universe is part of the string theory multiverse thing. They're saying that if that Higgs particle itself is a particular size too big, that it could actually cause, you guessed it, the destruction of that particular universe. All right. Wild new theory. You sold me on wild new theory, and so here we are. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, well, this is fine. This is cool. We've talked about string theory and multiple universes and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? But it gets even better, because there's more news, which we'll get to in a sec. But let's read a little bit more of this article. And again, remind you that as we go tonight, the secret weapon of troubled minds is you. So if you want to be part of the show, watching the phone lines, watching the Discord, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and there you go. So check this out. It continues. All right. Here we go. Now, this is where we get... Now, okay, now they're saying that it's a wild new theory. Well... It gets better than that. I can tack wild. I'll raise your wild and give you absolutely insane new theory. Okay. All right. Anyway, so we're going to get there. A Tale of Two Higgs. In 2012, 2012, the Large Hadron Collider achieved a truly monumental feat. This underground particle accelerator along the French-Swiss border detected for the first time in the Higgs boson, a particle that had eluded physicists for decades. The Higgs boson is a cornerstone of the Standard Model. This particle gives other particles their mass and creates the distinction between the weak nuclear force and the electromagnetic force. All right? But with the good news came some bad. The Higgs had a mass of 125 giga-electron volts. That's right. That's different than 1.21 gigawatts. It's 125 giga-electron volts, which sounds about the same to me, which was orders of magnitude smaller than what physicists had thought it should be. And of course, I was making a joke there about Back to the Future, in case you missed it. My math skills are not nearly that bad, but they're almost that bad. But anyway, to be perfectly clear, the framework physicists use to describe the zoo of subatomic particles, known as the Standard Model, doesn't actually predict the value of the Higgs mass, they say. For the theory to work, the number has to be derived experimentally. But back-of-the-envelope calculations made physicists guess that the Higgs would have incredibly large mass. Incredibly large mass. So when they discovered it here in our universe, it actually was quite a bit smaller than they expected it to be. And so the theory is that if you have these multiverse situations where the Higgs particle itself, the Higgs boson, the God particle, is larger mathematically, it could bring about the collapse of that universe, that parallel universe. All right, so that's where they're going with this, and so there's a whole bunch here, a matter of multiverses and all this other stuff, and there's a paper to go along with it. I'm not going to get too into the weeds here because it's one of those super in-depth things that turns into physics class, and I don't want to turn it into that because I'll fall asleep and you'll fall asleep, and then we'll wonder what the heck really happened. Then we will have time traveled, and the show would have been over. But okay, so then it got me. I was like, okay, this is wild. I like this idea. I can do something with this. But what could I do with this? Says Michael Strange. Ponders to himself, what can I do? Well, let's take another look. And this is exactly more of what we're talking about here. This is from scinews.com. New multiverse theory explains surprisingly small mass of Higgs boson. And there it is. What's up, Tim in the chat says, beautify the collapsing particle. Right? Exactly. All right. So there's more. 2012. All right. Now, 2012. The reason I bring up the fact that the Higgs boson was discovered in 2012. If you remember, they had a press conference July 4th, 2012, saying that they had found the God particle. And if you recall, 2012, July 4th was, of course, the 4th of July in the United States, or I don't know, would you call that New Rome, New Babylon? I don't know. Depends on how you're counting the beans, right? But July 4th, 2012, the Higgs boson is discovered. All right. And remember, according to that Mayan calendar stuff, there's all that craziness of December 21st, 2012, the end of the world, and all the rest of that stuff. And I've got a crazy story about that. That morning, I was actually helping a boss of mine at the time move. His daughter was moving, actually. So he was doing the old, super professional thing and saying, hey, why don't, instead of hiring some movers, why don't you just, get some guys on my payroll and they'll move your stuff for you, right? It was like that. So, me being the guy I am, I'm like, yeah, fine, that's fine. Let's do that and whatever. So we did it. But that morning I was supposed to be off, but I had volunteered because they needed people and everybody's like, hell no, I'm taking the day off. But December 21st, 2012, I walked out of the house at like, I don't know, it's 6:45 in the morning, something like that, right? And I look up at the sky, and it was the craziest sky I had ever seen. It was colors of that morning blue and streaks of like this yellow with the sun. I don't know, it definitely, to that point, that whole Mayan calendar 2012 end of the world thing, to that point, to me, was like, get out of here, people. Get out of here, right? But then I walked out and I looked up at the sky. And in that moment, I had that moment of doubt, like, this is going to be one of those days. But okay, but it didn't turn out to be. Well, or did it? And so there's a theory, right? And that's why I bring up the Higgs boson discovery in July of 2012. I didn't take pictures exactly, unfortunately, because it was one of those moments, you know how you're kind of like just stunned in the moment, and so you don't think that you're so sort of absorbed taking it in that you're not like, you know, I know that the Instagram world is always like, oh, you know, we got to take pictures of the food we eat and the sky we see and all the things, right? But I wish I had, but I didn't get photographs, unfortunately. But that was a good question. But it was one of those, like, it was one of those striking moments where it was a sky like I had never seen. And, you know, I've seen sunups, I've seen sundowns. I've got a bizarro sleep schedule. I always have. So, you know, being up at when the sun comes up is not completely out of the ordinary for me. So, you know, I'm a unofficial vampire, I guess. But the thing is this, right? Like, I was out there watching, and it for just a brief moment, it rattled me. Because this is the theory, right? This is how the theory goes. And don't worry, we're going to get to zombies. We're going to get to cellular death. And we're going to get to why I made these connections in conspiracy speculation theater. Okay, so check this out. This is from Simulated Universe, a subreddit, and it goes like this. This is that theory. On December 17th, 2012, scientists at CERN in Geneva, Switzerland, created a God particle, or a Higgs boson particle, that Einstein and Stephen Hawking said we should never try to create because it has the potential to destroy the fabric of the universe. I believe on that morning that when they went ahead and created that particle, it spawned a black hole that sucked us all in and subsequently put us in an alternate reality and on a new timeline. Our timeline went from an infinite outward spiral where time stretched on indefinitely to an infinite inward spiral where time stopped, and now we're living in that one fraction of a second forever. Because of the way black holes work, we perceive time as just going on, but it's not. Instead of time flowing forever outwards past 2012, it is now flowing forever inwards. And so part of this is that whole Nick Hinton idea that that CERN 2012 thing and that the discovery of the Higgs boson God particle actually did create, and this is again based in science, that Stephen Hawking said that be careful, because if we do find the actual elusive Higgs boson God particle, there is a potential for what he called a catastrophic vacuum decay. And we've talked about this previously on the show as well, on Troubled Minds. But the thing is, right, meaning that in the snap of a finger, even smaller than that, like a nanosecond, you would open up a black hole, just like described in this subreddit thread, okay? And so, well, if this is the thing, and we've spun off into some other parallel bizarro universe, and there's tons of examples again, which we can get to, but that's kind of for another time and another show, so we can maybe spice some of these in as we go. But it got me thinking in terms of all the rest of this. All right, so is this really possible? And then zombies and cellular death. All right, let's do this real quick. Let's shoehorn this in here, and then we'll get to it in more depth, right? So we got this happening, and okay, hold on. Check this out. Actually, let's just save this. Okay, just trust me that it's coming. We're going to talk about zombies. We're going to talk about cellular death, and we're going to talk about the death of the universe. Because not only is there this kind of bizarre theory that in 2012 the universe did end, there's also this other idea that maybe not end in particular, us frozen in some black hole catastrophic vacuum decay, opened up through CERN and the Higgs boson, not creation, but maybe finding the God particle. But, right, there's another theory that it spun us off into a whole nother universe itself, meaning that we did die. Everybody, the universe collapsed. All right, and so that's what they're describing here in this first article. Just to back this up, the Higgs boson could have kept our universe from collapsing. But what if they peeled that open, the time-space, as it were? Let's say you punched through time-space with a screwdriver. Just go with me here. And then you grabbed it and ripped it open. Do you think the universe would be okay? Or do you think catastrophic vacuum decay? And that's what's going on with all this. So this is where we're beginning tonight. And trust me, we're going to get to zombies and cellular death and why I brought all of this up, because of course this is Conspiracy Speculation Theater with Michael Strange and his good friends at Troubled Minds. So as we continue, it goes like this. Okay. All right, I know, it's a lot. Trust me, we're going to get there. The secret weapon of troubled minds is you. If you want to be part of the show tonight, part of this conversation, give me a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. More Higgsfield, catastrophic vacuum decay, cellular death, zombies, and you when we return. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. Helps if you unmute yourself. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And we're taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss not just the Higgs field, not just the multiverse, but zombies, cellular death, and I'll tell you why. I know it's a little early for you to really catch hold of what I'm saying, but it's coming. It's coming. Hang tight. One more time, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And so we begin with that strange idea that the universe ended back in 2012, okay? The Nick Hinton theory and the Higgs boson discovered in 2012, all right? And so it got me thinking in terms of not just this. We've got a couple articles about that. We've got this CERN alternate reality thing, and then we have this. Oddly enough, even all of that said, we've got this from Discover magazine. The universe's expansion could end surprisingly soon, say cosmologists. Oh, snap. All right. The universe is not only expanding, but accelerating away from us. Now, a new theory suggests all this could stop sooner than anyone imagined. All right. And so I was like, okay, all right. So we're in the death throes of a decaying universe. Is that what's happening here? What do they describe? Like, what is all this? And this is all today. All this information is out in the last 48 hours, which seems really strange to me. It's not typical that you see a bunch of news kind of come out that's sort of not the same thing, but also sort of the same thing. So here we go. It starts like this. For cosmologists, the origin of the universe is clear. They can see that galaxies are accelerating away from each other, and when they play this motion in reverse, the universe contracts to a single event. This all suggests it began some 14 billion years ago in an event we now call the Big Bang. All right. What's up? Tim in the chat says, physics is just a mental construct. I like it. But anyway, the second possibility raises an interesting question about the actual expanding ending and going into the contraction cycle. When is this going to happen? Now, Cosmin Andre from Princeton University and a couple of colleagues have investigated this issue using theoretical models that are consistent with current observations. And they say it could begin sooner than we think, perhaps on a timescale measured in millions rather than billions of years, right? Which still is, millions to human lifetime and all the rest of that is still incredibly long. But if we're talking about, they say the idea here behind this article in this paper is they're describing the end of the expansion of the universe and a contraction effect about to happen within approximately 65 million years. All right. Now, when you think in terms of they say 13.4 billion, I believe, is the current estimated age of the universe itself. If we go back to this point and say, okay, we only have 65 million years left, that's nothing. That means we're at like the 99th percentile of the end of the universe before the contraction cycle starts, right? They call that the Big Rip, the Big Bang as everything expands. Then the big bounce, I believe it's called, and when it comes all back, it contracts all the way back to that singularity to start all over again. And these billion-year cycles, right? The long cycles. But okay, so it got me thinking. All right, so we're in the death throes, they say, according to this paper, this idea, right? So we got the Higgs boson news about collapsing universes, collapsing multiverse things happening, and then we have this that they say that we're possibly at the very, very end of our own universe, in that it's, of course, 65 million years is the actual approximate time frame they're giving this. But again, to us, that's forever. But, well, to Earth 65 million years ago There were dinosaurs here. So just saying. All right. So then I was like, all right, we got, okay. So where do we go with this, right? Then we got the universe is not symmetric, and let's just get to the cellular death. Let's get to, shall we get to the zombies, guys? What's going on? Let's just get to the zombies. One more time. If you're having trouble keeping up with me, don't worry. We'll get there in a sec. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. So I was thinking, okay, so if the universe is going to die, what happens when the universe dies? Right, what happens when we do have this big bounce and all the acceleration and outward expansion and pressure happens? What happens when it all comes back? What does the death of a universe look like? And I thought, well, the only way we can experience this is through, well, our own death, right? Our own beginning and end. And so it got me thinking in terms of the micro and the macro. And so in that sense, how else do you describe the end of the universe without just describing it in the sense of yourself ending, right? Because, well, you're ending. We would all be ending, right? And so I started thinking in terms of, again, the micro, macro, not just the universe scale, but the human scale. And what I mean by that is there's these articles that describe, and it got me thinking this. This is what happens after you die, all right? It says, most of us would rather not think about what happens to our bodies after death, but that breakdown gives birth to a new life in unexpected ways. And so there's, okay, let's see. Far from being dead, a rotting corpse, they say, is teeming with life. And this is where we get to the zombies. A rotting corpse is teeming with life, and this is what happens after we die. So stick with me one sec. A growing number of scientists view a rotting corpse as the cornerstone of a vast, complex ecosystem, which emerges soon after death and flourishes and evolves as decomposition proceeds, right? Okay, so there's that. Decomposition begins several minutes after death with a process called autolysis, or self-digestion. Soon after the heart stops beating, cells become deprived of oxygen, and their acidity increases as the toxic byproducts of chemical reactions begin to accumulate inside of them. This is from mosaicscience.com. Enzymes start to digest cell membranes and then leak out as the cells break down. This usually begins in the liver, which is rich in enzymes, and in the brain, which has a higher water content. And so, okay, so all of this, which leads us to the zombies. Now we know that, for instance, if you lose a limb, all right, you've lost a massive amount of the cells in your body, right? The arm falls off or whatever, and it becomes dead, right? Actually dead. But, right, like, you stop the bleeding, you cauterize it with a lightsaber, that sort of thing, right? And the blood retains in the body. And so people live without limbs, okay? And so if that's the case, and we have people, in all kinds of catastrophic accidents that have these situations with missing limbs or different parts of their bodies just damaged, just in really grotesque and significant manners. So what is the trigger point for death? At what point does the body say, okay, nope, we're not doing it anymore? And it just shuts down, right? Because we've seen in the past, we've seen a ton of bodies take tons of trauma, right? Living people surviving horrific things. But how come they survived? Is it so I've been told in the past that it's a little something like this, right? It's sort of a decision that the body makes, and that there's like a cellular breakdown, like a chain reaction of cellular death. And somewhere, we don't even know. We can't explain how this happens, because if we could create. Well, we could resurrect people, right? So, but the point is, we don't even understand what starts this chain reaction, but it's a chain reaction of the death of cells, all right? And that's where we have this cellular, hold on, the zombies are coming up. So if that's the case, right, and we die with some sort of horrific actual trauma, all right? So some people survive, some people don't, because something inside the body says no, shut down. And the cellular chain reaction happens, and the body itself dies. It chooses to die, okay? But what if we figured out what causes that instant, and what about if we figured out how to reverse cellular death itself, all right? And so you're like, where'd you get this, Mike? This is crazy. Really? Well, let me remind you, I'm calling tonight another version of conspiracy speculation theater on Troubled Minds, but I also found this article. Yes, okay. This is from Medical Daily, and would you believe it? Life after death. According to science, cells fight to stay alive long after the body dies in what they're calling twilight of death. Okay? All right. You see what I'm saying here? Okay. So even after this cellular chain reaction happens, then the cells inside the body are still trying to fight this process, and they still live on. You see what I'm saying here? All right, so just a little bit of this, and then we'll get to the zombies and why I'm thinking about this in terms of string theory, because, of course, there's a universe out there where things are very, very different than they are here. And maybe this right here is one of them. So let's read just a smidge and we'll get to zombies. A recent study is providing new support of the old adage, death is only the beginning. I saw that in the chat. No ways up. What's up, guys? According to the research, some cells in the body fight to live long after the organism dies. In some cases, cell activity actually increases following death. Catch that? In some cases, cell activity actually increases following death. All right, here we go. The research suggests that the death of a living organism is a multi-step process that continues long after the final heartbeat. Finding from this research could have implications for everything from cancer research to life extension. All right. Okay, so let me recap at this point. Right, we started with this crazy idea about the Higgs boson. All right. If it's not exactly the right size, the universe collapses. All right. In 2012, we discovered the Higgs boson through CERN. Okay. The 2012 theory goes a little something like this, that the Mayan calendar was correct and the world and universe did end in 2012, meaning that we are either stuck eternally inside of that catastrophic vacuum decay, as Stephen Hawking described, inside of a black hole with time frozen, except the inversion of time and all kinds of other stuff. But that's a whole nother show. We're not even going to talk about that tonight. But it goes like this then. So if there is an alternate universe that we live in now that is so different from the other one that we have all this crazy stuff happening, and I don't think anybody can deny the last 10 years have been just off the rails, just news-wise, just things happening in the world. I mean, it has been absolutely nutter butters. But, right, if we're looking at this and the cells here in our current universe, even if it's let's say it's a peel off of the 2012 catastrophe, let's say it is, all right, and we have this situation where this chain reaction of death, the death message that goes through the body, even though we have cells that fight and try and stay alive through what they're calling the twilight of death. Now, how does this actually all come together? Well, hold on to your butts. Here we go. We've got this. This is from SciTech Daily, and this is from today. I see the bots, guys. I'll come get them in a sec. I'll make a few mods again. Give me some volunteers or some mods in there if you guys want to help smack down the bots. I'd appreciate that, and I'll come make some mods on YouTube in a sec here. But here we go. This is where this all comes together, and I saw this and I was like, no freaking way. SciTech Daily reports this, and wouldn't you know it, this is from January 17th, right? Which is what? A little less than a week ago. Scientists discover how to halt and control cellular death process, previously thought to be irreversible. All right. Now you see where I'm getting here. Now look, this is brand new. This is this week, and we'll read just a little bit from this, and you'll see what I'm saying. It is a little long-winded to get to the point today, but it is conspiracy speculation theater, like I said, so please bear with me. Listen to this. A study published by researchers at the University of Illinois, Chicago, describes a new method for analyzing I practiced saying this 3 times before we started tonight, and I still messed it up. Pyroptosis, which is known as the process of cell death that is usually caused by infections and results in excess inflammation in the body, and shows that process, long thought to be irreversible, once initiated, can be halted and controlled. All right. Okay. So we've got that. All right. We've got that. And, okay. So you see what I'm saying now. Now we've got this string theory idea. We've got the world ending with this Higgs boson thing where they discovered, well, if the Higgs particle itself is not of particular mass, well, it actually leads to a catastrophic vacuum decay. And that's what we're talking about. And that's what Stephen Hawking was talking about. But if that 2012 Mayan calendar thing is real, we've spun off into a whole new something or other. Well, that means there's a whole new bunch of something or others because string theory. And so, as they say, given infinite time and infinite space, if anything can happen, it has happened. And that's what they say in science, in theoretical science. But so here's the thing, right? So if, right, think about it this way. Now we're talking about cellular death. Okay. And so not just that, equating it to that micro macro idea of the way the universe dies. And is it some sort of contraction principle? What actually happens? Does it just float off and die and become too large and everything gets cold and freezes? And, there's different ideas about that. But what if there is some sort of cellular chain reaction with the universe itself? And, well, maybe that is what causes that contraction. But the thing is this. In terms of people, we saw that there is that cellular chain reaction with that death sort of trigger that's in us. But then also on top of that, there's this idea that the cells fight to stay alive even long after the person themselves has passed on. But then we have this. Scientists discover how to halt and control cellular death process. So what does that mean? Does that mean that in some cases we're able to regenerate and stop things like they talk about this in terms of inflammation? They talk about the cellular process is always ongoing. You have cells die and they're replaced. This is a process always ongoing within us. Okay, it's a normal thing. But if you can stop particular cells from actually dying, from becoming from extincting themselves, from this cycle of creation. Let's see what I did there. This cycle of creation. If you can do this, then is it possible that soon we will have The Walking Dead? You see what I'm saying? What happens when that chain reaction of your cells actually turns us into something else? Dead, but not dead. Dead, but our cells fighting back to stay alive. And then through some new miraculous medical breakthrough, we're able to stop the dead from actually dying. Weird, right? And so they're not actually implying this in this particular article. Again, like I said, you're going to have to come out on a limb with me with the conspiracy speculation theater. But you see what I'm getting at now. All right. So that means there's a multiverse. There's a version of our universe out there where this has already happened, where this has already been developed. And how else would you describe somebody who has passed away? Their cells are fighting to stay alive, and they've been resurrected through the miracle of modern science. Is that, or is that not, a zombie? And that's what I'm talking about tonight. We finally got there, but you see the idea, right? It's long-winded and it's a lot. But I was reading some of this. Let's read a little bit more of this because this is pretty wild, right? We've got scientists discover how to halt and control cellular death process. And this is again from this week, January 17th, 2022. All this news that I'm throwing at you tonight, every single bit of it is from the last 10 days or so. There's nothing old here. It's crazy. And so, like, again, you know me. I parse the news cycles. I look at this stuff and I consider what in the world is going on. And, well, here we are. Let's read some of this. A study published by researchers at the University of Illinois describes a new method for analyzing pyroptosis, the process of cell death that is usually caused by infections and results in excess inflammation in the body, and shows that process, long thought to be irreversible, once initiated, can in fact be halted and controlled. And just a little what apoptosis actually does, it destroys unwanted cells. Mitosis, cell division itself, makes new cells. Here's your biology lesson for the night. While they may seem to be at odds, apoptosis and mitosis work together to keep us healthy. For example, our skin and hair cells are renewed via a continuous cycle of apoptosis and mitosis. So are the cells lining our intestines. Because new cells replace old, worn out ones, our tissues remain healthy. So you see what I'm saying? So instead of this situation where we have these cells actually dying, they're able to stop them. So does that actually have anything to do with death? I don't know. What's up? Fred out there in the chat says, life finds a way. And I think maybe you are right here. So does life find a way to become zombies? And is that actually where we're headed? Is that the true evolution of human beings? The zombie afterlife? Anyway, here we go. Pyroptosis is a series of biochemical reactions that uses a gasdermin, a protein, to open large pores in the cell membrane and destabilize the cell. To understand more about this process, the UIC researchers designed an, optogenic gasdermin by genetically engineering the protein to respond to light. Quote, the cell death process plays an important role in the body in both healthy states and unhealthy ones, but by studying pyroptosis, which is a major type of cell death, has been challenging, said Gary Moe, UIC assistant professor at the Department of Pharmacology and Regenerative Medicine and the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the College of Medicine. Moe said that methods to examine the pyroptosis mechanisms at play in live cells are difficult to control because they are initiated by unpredictable pathogens, like I was describing, sort of that idea that the cells do that chain reaction death thing, right? There's some trigger somewhere that turns it all off. So here we go. So our optogenic gasdermin allowed us to skip over the unpredictable pathogen behavior and the variable cellular response because it mimics at the molecular level what happens in the cell once pyroptosis is initiated, Mo said. So anyway, like I said, nobody's claiming this is a resurrection. Nobody's claiming that we're going to have walking zombies. But again, since we're allowed to do whatever we want to do here on Troubled Minds, we're talking conspiracy speculation theater. So as this developed, right, again, this is all from the last 10 days. This is all news from the last 10 days. And so if you're looking at things and going, wait a minute, so if this and this and this, and I know it's a stretch, but it's a hell of a fun stretch. So I don't know, what are your thoughts at this point? Like I said, I kind of got there, but there's more to talk about, including, well, what about zombies? What about zombies in our world? Are they real? What about zombies in the next world? Are they real as well? And of course, what if we have a scientific breakthrough to create the living zombies? Which would be us? Which would be you? Which would be me? Love to hear your thoughts. There's a lot of things to talk about and think about tonight. Very long-winded to begin. It usually takes me about 30 minutes to get us to the point where you get my point. But, we took twice that long. So now I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Is this conspiracy speculation theater that you do enjoy? Or is this, well, come on, Mike, let's get back to the real world. And it's all good because, like I said, I do believe that the idea of these shows and these things is to look at some of the scientific stuff that's going on out there and consider the possibilities of what the future may bring, but then also just to talk to each other. I think that's one of the most important parts about all this is that we just talk to each other, because I do believe that we can agree, we can disagree, we can have a little fun, and we can actually just still like each other after a good, long, ridiculous conversation. And that's what we're doing tonight. So if you want to be part of the show, I'm still taking phone calls and looking at the Discord and seeing you guys, see all the chat out there. I'll come say hi to the chat in just a minute. But what's actually happening? And that's what I want to know. And actually, I didn't actually even get into the Discord. There we go. All right. So now I'm in the Discord, actually in the live show thing. So there we go. So taking your phone calls. What do you think? Is this a bridge too far, Michael Strange? Now you've gone off the rails into the weeds and over the cliff. Is that what this is about? Or is this the type of thing that you love hearing when you come to Troubled Minds? One more time, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we're talking about the multiverse. We're talking about the Higgs boson. We're talking about cellular death. And what happens if cellular death can be stopped after the point of death? Well, does that mean zombies? What about string theory zombies? What about zombies in the next universe? What about zombies in this universe? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. And yep, you guessed it. Conspiracy speculation theater tonight. More zombies, string theory, cellular death, cellular regeneration, and even resurrection, and your calls when we return. That's a mouthful. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds after the break. Be right back. talking about the alien abduction phenomenon. Aliens.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
Alright, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Wednesday night, which means one of the nights we get together. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Well, tonight we got a doozy for you, as this is a live show, as always, and we're taking your phone calls. I see you there, Joseph. Hang tight. We'll get to you ASAP. And we got James on the line as well. Going to get to you, James, next. Hold on, guys. We'll be right with you. And we're taking your phone calls as we discuss multiverse zombies. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'll brief this real quick to sum it up so everybody understands what's going on. But if you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. And we're streaming on Rock Band, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and of course, we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And that's the idea here. It's a conversation. The conversation is what this is about. Now, here's the quick theory. Here's the nutshell version, just to catch everybody up. We got this multiverse situation with the Higgs field, the Higgs boson being discovered in July of 2012. The Mayan calendar said, well, the end of time, right? Whether that would be the age of Aquarius, moving into a new thing. But there were some other ideas that in 2012, the Higgs boson was discovered, created a catastrophic vacuum decay by discovering this God particle, and spun us off into another, well, another reality, let's say. The string verse, string theory, multiverse, sort of within that idea. All right, but then it gets even more weird, because in light of how bizarre the last 10 years have been, now we get this idea that cellular death is not only permanent anymore, along with, let's say, even the death of the universe, which seems to be coinciding at the same time, at least in the news cycle. So because, of course, they've determined that we're nearing the 99th percent of the possible expansion of the universe by some wild account, which is amazing to me because I love wild accounts. And then so with all of that, we go micro, macro, cellular degeneration, which they can actually fix now, cellular death, and they say that there's a way to actually control it. So my idea was, does that mean in some other multiverse, there's zombies walking around? Or do you think they're in this actual universe? What's up? Night Stalker says in the Marvel universe, they had, I think the zombie virus in Marvel Zombies came from a zombie verse in the multiverse and infected everyone in the Marvel universe. I got another idea on that. We'll get to that in a sec. But so we are taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the show tonight. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link. Let's go to Joseph in Iowa. Sorry to keep you waiting, my friend. Go right ahead. What do you think? Am I off the rails tonight? Have I really done it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So what do you think? What do you think of the idea here regarding multiverse zombies? Go right ahead.
Well, I wonder in this reality if, like, you would think some animals are considered zombie to us. And if we were to get those traits ourselves, it would be a zombie human right away. You know, like rage and people can basically become zombies. And I think that would be a thing. But you were talking about like the end of the world too.
Yeah. So basically just the idea that we're when things end, like somebody said, death is only the beginning. Somebody in the chat, and also in one of the articles we're reading. But it's also kind of in that term. It's also sort of a universal term. So we're talking about a lot of things tonight, a lot of concepts kind of coming together: the micro and the macro, the universe ending, that sort of thing. But also, what about the end of life? How would you describe the universe ending, other than from your own human experience? The end would be the end. But what if the end isn't the end? And that's what we're talking about. So continue. You had an idea there.
Yeah, I was thinking. Like, there could be, you know, we could just go to another construct. You know, that's always a possibility, or go dream state if, like, everything collapsed or died. Like, let's say we're like a lithium ion battery, like the entire bubble we're in, and, like, cells all died out, and, like, it would just drift to, like, a scrapyard or something. But I was thinking, like, I don't like the fact that we're like, I don't like the theories that we're like bound to like Earth. Like, let's say we leave and it's just, we start to lose who we are. So I'd imagine at some point there would be an idea to, like, I was watching on TV about tornadoes because I live in Tornado Alley. So I'm always watching stuff on it. And they actually changed the magnetic field. And I'd imagine, like, some space people would make a giant soup of craziness. Kind of like we were talking about, they would master chaos, you know?
Okay.
Like man-made, mastered chaos that would keep us from fading out of existence.
Okay, I like it. So where does it fit in? How do we? Who stops this? Is it us that stops this, or is there some other entity there?
I mean, you look at like all life. I mean, like they seem to be. Some of them seem to be locked into nature. I don't know. Like you don't know what's going on. Like in the long scheme, like of time and stuff. But I think we play the major role. Like we're the ones that came up, so we definitely have the tools to get it done.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
Zombies, I don't.
You know about zombies?
I don't know zombies.
you ever get a craving for brains?
I'm
just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding. Brains.
I think willpower has a lot to do with how you are in this life transfers into what's going to happen in your death. So your constructs, everything that you've experienced, everything is all you're going to be, kind of thing. Like, and then in the end, that's your that's a theory I have on it. Like you could be in your own construct again or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Big theories.
I don't know either. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm probably like on thin ice on 12 different limbs, and they're all about to snap. So it's okay. I realize we're out there tonight, and it's very. Let's say it's, this needs to be a T-shirt as well. Beyond theoretical, beyond theoretical. so you know some theoretical bases for some of these things. But again, like I said, we're not as part of these discussions. I think it's important to not take ourselves too seriously, and it's okay, you know, to consider like literally the most serious things ever, which would be human consciousness, which would be, you know, our place in the world and the universe and stuff like that. But I also like to laugh. You know me, I like to laugh. So it's okay, man. It's okay. I don't know either. I have no idea. What else you got for us, my friend?
I just like to imagine that we're trying to be like you see like ants, if you put them in a dirty place, they'll clean up their environment, and they even like basic like aggressive monkeys will have, like, I saw this video of them in India, and they would have a room in this abandoned church that they would put all the dead, because they know that's like nasty, you know, like they're learning for something, you know.
Yeah, well, meaning that they're expecting them to come back at some point, or
maybe like, yeah, I'm not sure.
that's okay. Like I said, neither am I. It's all good. You're in good company tonight, my friend, because I have no idea what I'm talking about. we're just having a good time, considering some crazy things. So, Night Stalker said he's got some stuff. I don't know if you're going to call in a little bit later, Derek. That'd be amazing, about the Marvel zombie thing. But maybe James can help us out. I'm not familiar with that exact thing.
Yeah.
But we can get to that as well. I got another one too about the World of Warcraft, and if you guys ever played that game, I got a wild story about that. But okay, so what's your final thought here, Joseph? We got James behind you. We got to get to him as well.
Yeah, I just remember, I'm just going to add, I played World of Warcraft one time when I was a little kid, and I ran just forever. I was just running, and then this dude kept hitting me. And my brother's like, "What are you doing?" And I never got to play it again.
There you go.
Apparently I did something wrong.
There you go. We can add one more slice to the crazy story, is a turn around and fight that zombie. Don't run, Joseph. You're the best brother. I appreciate the phone call. Like I said, it's okay to laugh, and it's okay to not take ourselves seriously, because I don't know either. You're great. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for calling. You're amazing. Joseph here has a YouTube channel called Hydro Hose. Links in the description. Check it out. Give him some love. A great dude. Been calling us often now with some really amazing ideas. I appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Yep.
All right, easy as that. Easy peasy. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We're talking about this: cellular death and string theory zombies. Have I really done it this time? Have I gone off the rails? And if I have, well, I'm sorry. Not sorry, not going to apologize, because we live off the rails on Troubled Minds, and that's the way things go. So I don't know. Back to this idea that cellular death can now, well, maybe be controlled, maybe be stopped, maybe even reversed. And so what does that mean? What does that mean for us? Of course, it's the first step. We're talking about probably inflammation and things like this. But in the next step, right, again, you got to think about science, scientific discoveries, and what this leads to 10 years, 20 years, 50 years down the road. Are we going to have zombies in our own universe? That's the crazy question here. We'll get to that Warcraft story a little bit later. James Salcedo of Salcedo Paranormal, welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you, my friend? Welcome.
Thank you. And now you've done it, Mike.
Yeah, I know. I've done it. That's okay.
Now you've done it.
And not only that, it's not even the first time. How about that? It's not even the first time. Guilty is charged.
keeps on happening over and over again.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Jay in the chat, by the way, says, how can you have fun on the rails? And I think he's right. So I don't know. So what do you think? Again, I'm all over the place. Like I said, thin ice on 12 different branches about to snap. And again, I'm mixing metaphors, and that's all fine, because I'm off the rails there too. And I'm not apologizing. But the point is, what do you think? Do you think there's some at least fun basis in this? And what about that Marvel thing? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the Marvel thing, unfortunately. I know of that universe, but not so much how it started or any of that. And I just want to say, when I said now you've done it, I have to say I was actually talking about a great show. So
thank you. Thank you. That's very nice.
But the other thing this made me think of is the whole... When you're talking about scientists, saying that they know things, has anyone ever heard of the whole Resident Evil video game / movie universe?
Yes, definitely. So I played that. That was one of the first actually horror video games, right? Where it was supposed to kind of be like half first-person shooter, third-person shooter, and half a horror type. Right, scare you out of your wits. You turn the corner and the zombie comes and the music goes like Psycho or something, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know a lot about the plots of those games, but I've seen little bits and pieces, and it seems like the idea behind that is these zombies are created thanks to experiments, thanks to labs.
Thanks to a lab leak, you mean?
That's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did think about that, to be perfectly honest, and I dodge the elephant in the room as much as possible because everybody else talks about it, and so I just don't like talking about it. Because, but you're right. There's some parallels here, right? Eli in the chat says the Umbrella Corp, right?
Yeah, and I'm not even necessarily talking about that elephant directly. I'm just saying that scientists messing with things, not even necessarily, like I said, not even necessarily the elephant, but just messing with things, altering things, is what may have created that, and that's where my mind goes with something like this.
Okay, yeah, where exactly? So what is the next step though? So within, let's say, what do you feel about that whole idea of the string theory, the universe becoming something else? Things have been pretty nuts the last 10 years. Do you think that's a possibility? And maybe, because if you think about it in terms of this scientific stuff I'm talking about with this cellular regeneration, or the fact that scientists discover how to halt and control cellular death process, clearly we're made of cells. So if we can do that and then sort of maybe even find a way to stop that chain reaction that is death, then basically we're cars. We're like, you swap the car part out, you grow us some pig organs and you slap them back in, and then you pump the heart back full of energy through those whatever paddles they do, and bam, it's like Frankenstein, right? Like maybe we live in the Frankenstein universe after all. Is it on the way?
It could be. I just whenever, and there may be people tired of me saying this, but whenever it comes to scientists or anyone messing with people, with what we're made of, with cells and whatever, and possibly basically bringing us back from the dead or stopping us from completely dying, where does that consciousness or that soul go?
That's another question.
Done?
That's another question. So exactly. So we just saw an article where they describe after death, the cells are fighting to stay alive. And there's more cellular activity after death than there is previous to death itself. Does that make you creeped out?
And it makes me wonder, okay, if that urge to fight is still there, but if that's all that energy is being channeled into and there's no thought behind it, then, that's not any good either. If there's no activation or if there's no higher functioning of a person, if it's not more than just motor controls, then that does not sound good.
No, well, it does not. But it also it lets you know that dead kind of may not mean dead, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What about that idea of like Vanilla Sky with like the freezing process where they freeze you, when you got some incurable thing or whatever, or even at death now, right? That again, we can go back and look at the mummification process of like the ancient Egyptians again, kind of with new eyes, considering this, right? With not just like the CRISPR stuff, the stem cell stuff, the growing organs. Like, could we literally grow King Tut's organs again with his genetic code and sort of replicate an ish version of King Tut? You know what I mean? Like immortality becomes like a really compelling question at some point, right? But I like your idea with this, with the soul. So what happens then when your cells are fighting back, trying to like kick off this death mantle, whatever's happening, more cellular activity after death than pre-death? Then what happens to the soul? Is that purgatory notion? Is it floating above the room, like they said, near-death experiences? I don't know. What do you think?
Or is it just in those cells that are trying to fight back to live, but nowhere else in the body? In other words, nowhere else in the brain, nowhere. That's if that's as far as it goes. Like I said, then you're just fighting to stay alive, but you're not doing anything once you're alive.
Unless they can wave the magic wand, snap the magic fingers, Thanos style, but in a good way. I don't know. I don't know. Pretty wild stuff. When I read this, like I said, I knew there was an idea here. I just didn't know what, and I figured, let's just throw caution to the wind. We'll talk about multiverse cellular regenerating zombies. Why not? Because why not? I don't know. So what are your other thoughts here? Have you ever played World of Warcraft? I can tell you that story, or we would rather go with what you have.
I have not played that one. I think that's basically it. I just feel like, it would have to take some kind of science would have to advance a lot more, I think, in terms of the non-physical before I would think that this would be a good idea. Yeah, no, again, as always, right, we always talk about sort of that Jurassic Park scenario of, the scientists were so enthralled with whether they could, they never stopped to ask whether they should. And I think there's a whole lot of that as well. So what happens? Imagine in that Vanilla Sky scenario where, let's say you have a death situation where maybe you do pass, somebody does, not you in particular. I'm not pointing the bone, James. I'm sorry. You better not be.
Let's say no. Exactly. I know. That's why I had to apologize. I had to apologize before it even came out of my mouth. But let's say somebody passes away and they're frozen in the moment, like some sort of flash freezing, right? But then they're brought back after they've learned how to maybe reverse this cellular chain reaction, sort of death itself, and they bring them back. What happens to that soul? Has that soul been in stasis, or has that soul moved on? Good questions. Good thoughts, man. What do you think there?
Yeah. That's what we have here is just questions. I don't think we can really have answers just yet. Anyway.
Oh, come on. Let's make it the answers show tonight, James. Give us some answers, man. Don't make me twist your arm.
Okay, well, then, I guess, no, probably they're gone. The soul's gone, and you just got a body that's alive, and there's your zombies.
And then we got the walk-in, right? We got the souls that have been gone looking for bodies, and they step in, don't they? You heard of walk-ins? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
I've heard that term, yeah. And, even if you think of, that could be good or bad, depending on who or what is walking in.
That's true.
So,
That's true. Back to our Cthulhu show.
Yeah, I'm actually I'll be starting to listen to that particular story here pretty soon.
Nice. The Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Let us know how that goes. I appreciate it very much. Running out of time here, James. Everybody, James here, a good friend of mine, good friend of Troubled Minds. He's done a lot to help the show, and he's always here with bells on, ready to help with whatever. He helps me test audio with phone calls and weird stuff that I'm like, hey, James, I got to fix this. Can you help? And he's always the first one to volunteer. He's smacking the bots down in the chat. I appreciate all you do, my friend. You are the best. He has a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. Check it out. Links in the description. He talks about paranormal stuff 5 nights a week, and he's branching out a little bit too in 2022 and talking about some other conspiracies as well. So thanks for being part of this, James. You're the best. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yep, thank you. Have a good night.
You too, my man. All right, as we finish, we're winding down to, the final segment on Fringe FM. What does that mean? I don't even know, because I'm not the answers guy. I have no stinking idea. Don't ask me. But do call me, because I see you there. I see you, Joe. Hang tight. We'll get to you as soon as we come back from the commercial. But I don't know. Is this possible? If we found a way to stop cellular death itself and pair that with the 2012 multiverse theory of the Higgs discovery, is there a multiverse version of us walking around as zombies? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More zombies, string theory, and you when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockbin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls tonight as we talk about, yep, you guessed it, cellular death and string theory zombies. What the hell does that even mean? Don't ask me, because I barely know myself. Just throwing some things out there, seeing what sticks, and if this ends up a disaster, we'll have complaints till Tuesday, or maybe longer than that. Send them my way, troublemindsradio@gmail.com. we're taking your phone calls as we discuss this. It's fun to laugh at ourselves. It's fun to think conspiracy speculation theater, and it's just fun to talk to people and have a good time. That's what we're doing tonight. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show, and let's go to our good friend Joe in Florida. Thank you for waiting. Go right ahead. Joe, welcome to Troubled Minds.
Good evening.
Good evening. Oh, you were the expert here. You're the expert here, Joe. What's going on? Have you ever seen string theory zombies in your profession there?
I can tell you this. If I had to choose between a female robot companion for a PG term or a cold stiff, I would probably stick with the robot.
Okay. All right.
I would rather smell the robot than smell the stiff.
I think back to Goonies in the refrigerator when Chunk goes in to get the ice cream, and there's the dead guy in there, and they're like, "It's a stiff." Yeah. Okay. All right.
Go
ahead.
Here's the other one. Since I work in the business, I really don't want to take my work home with me. Literally.
Oh, zing. Boy, you lined him up. You lined him up for tonight. So for those that don't know, Joe is an actual funeral director out in Florida, and we're making some dark jokes. Dark jokes. Okay, anyway, so go ahead. The articles that you read in the beginning are spot on. The cells do go through decomposition. Some cells do fight, or go through the process of living out or struggling, in their last stages. And then there's the stages of dying in hospice and being moribund and death rattle and all of that. As you were reading it today, part of me just says that's just the body playing out the rest of the programming, if you were to believe in the Matrix theory. Another part of me starts to think, if 2012 shut everything down and we're living in some kind of perpetual shadow, if there was something on the other side of a black hole and they were zombies, how would the zombies be self-aware? Would they just be opposite versions of us? Like the Bizarro world? And then the biggest thought that I have is, when we talk about zombies, what would a modern day, I'll ask you this as a question, I have my answer, but what would a modern day Frankenstein look like? What would you think that would look like? I think the interesting part about that is that it would probably look like you and I, right? Because like I said, we're talking about doing genetically modified pig hearts implanted into people. So at some point, we're talking about maybe robotic limbs. And remember the Luke Skywalker thing where they replaced his hand after Darth Vader chopped it off. Sorry, spoiler alert on a 40-year-old movie or whatever. But like I think, right? I think like a walking zombie is that transhumanistic future, and I think they would be able to make it kind of look like you and I, wouldn't they?
So, more or less, on the right track, right? We know the heart, okay? We know the heart and chemical reactions make a small electrical current. In that sense, we are a perfect machine. We can gauge efficiency, but we have to eat and we have waste. We could argue that that's another conversation. If digging out battery material is more efficient than just us eating and pooping and having electrical current. But let's take modern day technology. Let's take Neuralink. We talk about that all the time. What happens tomorrow if I show up to work and I go look in my cooler and there's a couple of bodies missing because somebody stole them? And next thing you know, Musk has a little battery pack, plugs it in the back of the head. We see it in sci-fi. They got Neuralink, and now technically hopefully somebody, would have an autoton or a monoton, whatever you want to call it, an automaton. I don't know that it would be an android, because it wouldn't be software, but somebody would be controlling a zombie. wouldn't be quite like Frankenstein, but if you could put Neuralink in rats or humans that are living, right, but maybe you really wanted to test that theory, and you find somebody that's freshly dead, okay, that maybe is going to go up for donor transplant. I see it. I have bodies come in, and the eye bank is calling me because there's a certain amount of hours that the body can be viable so they can get the tissue, the corneas, and the eyeballs, okay? I also see the bone bank come in, and they take bones and skin grafts. So let's just say in the future, you could donate your body to science, which isn't the future, it's the truth. We could do that now. A family would never know. Sometimes I pick up a body, and it goes to a college in Central Florida, whose name I won't know or say, and the college actually does the cremation. It's probably subcontracted. How do I know that the family's getting those right ashes back? I don't know that that body maybe was only dead for 12 hours, and there's viability with that. I'm talking like opposite of RoboCop. RoboCop, they took his brain, he was still kind of living, and like you said, they attached all the body parts to his own brain, his spirit, whatever it was. But let's say somebody's dead, and they plug him in, and then they could remote him. Besides the smell, and within 12 hours, you may not have really a lot of smell, but how would you know? I mean, you probably would know. But if it was being used for a nefarious purpose, that would be it. I mean, I just was thinking about that, when I think about Frankenstein and how he got electrocuted, and he's got those little things on his side, on the neck. A modern day version of that would be a low voltage battery, maybe Elon Musk and a chip, Neuralink, and off you go.
Off you go, on to the next life. Yeah, it could be. It could be. It is an interesting question too. That's probably a whole show in and of itself. Is what would a modern day Frankenstein even look like? That's a pretty wild thought right there. Because we're talking about the old Mary Shelley style, but like they hadn't quite seen the pig heart DNA modified transplants yet. Back then, like the science fiction, the science fact that we're doing today in today's world would have blown their minds then. So yeah, who knows, bro? Who knows? What do you think about the string theory zombies? What do you think about that? Have I gone too far this time, like James said?
Well, how can you say? How can we ever say that? And and like you said, in an infinite universe, as far as what we could perceive. Speed of light being the boundary that we know of. But at one end, we're saying that the universe is infinite, but now in this conversation that we're having, some people are saying that we're like in the last throes of it.
Yeah, that's
going to collapse on itself, or it's going to finish. So what are we looking at here?
Exactly. What are we looking at here? If we think in terms of like the universe dying, right? And again, back to that whole micro macro, and this is why we do this open ended and sort of non-linear. What about the universe and its dying cells? You think there's a death throw in the? And so my point was to making that whole connection is if the universe has that snapback and actually starts to become its own sort of zombie, is there a way to save that? Oh boy.
How would we ever know what purpose would it serve? But I could tell you this. I mean, if we're some kind of God's debris, it's a book. If we're some kind of an experiment living an experience for something, then who knows that whatever it is that we're living for, would you want to experience a zombie type, eating each other? My portrayal of zombies are basically pointless. They just go eating brains and they move around, and that's what we see on TV. I think we're put on this planet with some kind of a purpose, some kind of a programming. If zombies are just zombies, then it's just chaos and self-destruction. But if you're talking zombies as maybe the opposite of us in a bizarro world, in another side of on the other side of a black hole, that maybe keeps continuing. We finish and it keeps continuing. Maybe, I guess what I'm saying is, what would be the purpose of life if there's no purpose? Every creature that we see, it's tardigrade in space. Anything that we see has a purpose. It does its programming. however, even a virus evolves and has its purpose. Okay? Even, and then it makes me think about prion disorder. Actually, a prion disorder is like a half-dead, half-alive. I'm probably going to mess up the terminology, but as a funeral director, Crutchfield-Jacobs is something you don't want to get. If a body dies at Crutchfield-Jacobs, you have to be very careful of that. It's a prion disorder. That virus is like half dead and half alive. And if you get it, some people say that, that's mad cow disease, and who knows if we're going to get Alzheimer's. And maybe to an extent, people with Alzheimer's and dementia are kind of zombies because they forget who they are, and they just kind of roll through life. I guess our definitions of terminology also would have something to do with it.
Yeah, that's pretty wild too. So that so we're talking about necrosis in the sense of that prion disease is sort of straddling both worlds, alive and dead. That's nutty right there, right? Maybe so. Imagine, right? So in terms of like that mad cow disease and those points you're making is that, what if there's some sort of medical breakthrough that lies there, and they can determine maybe through some sort of a genetically modified prion disease, a way to maybe not just stop cellular death like we've just seen. They say that the breakthrough is happening now, but then also what about reversing whatever that trigger is of the chain reaction that kills the person, right? Some sort of like a serum where you just keep them on ice until you can get this super serum injected in, and the eyes open again. Oh dear Lord. Oh boy. I don't know, man. Wild stuff, huh?
Or you've all seen Stargate. You might get the sarcophagus.
Yes, the sarcophagus and Stargate, which again is it's basically like a med bed, right? It's like a like the ancient Egyptian advanced version of the med bed. So yeah, wild stuff. What else you got for us, my friend?
That's it. I hope everybody's healthy, and what I do appreciate is I might take a couple of notes before I call you. But sometimes while you and I are having a conversation, things pop in my head, like Crutchfield-Jacobs, and like me going to eat Taco Bell. So I can try to get Crutchfield-Jacobs and let you know how I feel as a zombie.
Hey man, Taco Bell is people. Hold on, wait. I got a clip. Hold on. Don't go anywhere, Joe. Where is this? I saved this. Here you go.
Everybody, listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell them Silent Green is people! You gotta tell them!
You gotta tell them Silent Green is people! There you go. Yeah, all right. Stay away from the Taco Bell, Joe. You never know what kind of necrosis you're going to wake up with.
That's it, grade. Hey, this is how they pick the meat.
Yeah.
Grade D beef. That cow over there chasing its tail, that's what I want. Let's get it.
Exactly.
Have a good night, guys.
You're the best, brother. Joe in Florida, longtime friend of the show, friend of mine. Always a pleasure. God bless you and the fam. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thanks, bro. There you go. Easy as that. So easy as that. Look. You call me. I'm your friend. I'm not gonna come at you. There's a lot of these radio shows where they're just douchebags and they just come at you. You respect me, I'll respect you. Let's have a good time. Let's talk about crazy stuff, because why not? That's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about crazy stuff. What are your thoughts here? We've got a few minutes left. If you want to squeak in and give us one more phone call before we finish up. Yep. The Greg, I see you there over on the Rockvin, or sorry, the too many names in my damn brain. Over on the French chat, the Greg says, never knew that Joe's a funeral director. Yeah, he cremates people as like a regular job, the funeral directions and all the things. Pretty good stuff. Okay, so the thing is this, right? We're talking about all kinds of nutty stuff, right? Nutty stuff, including, speaking of nuts, you've got me, Michael Strange, this is Troubled Minds. We're talking about cellular death and string theory zombies. Why not, right? If this is the case and we're talking about a situation with being able to prevent this cellular death, all right? Again, and I know we're in the very, very first stages of this with this article that I brought up tonight, but it did kind of make me wonder, right? Like, you can do these sort of linear type shows, but what about these other ideas? What about, we've talked about the idea of, we don't talk about zombies a lot on this show because it's literally just sort of like all over the zeitgeist. Like zombies are in The Walking Dead, which I stopped watching that show in season 2 because, good God, like punched myself in the face. Some people still really like it, but I mean, it's like zombie, right? World War Z. Like, you could name like tons and tons and tons of zombie movies and it shows and this and that and the other thing. So as you know, like what I like to do with this show is do really what most everybody else is not doing. So that's why we rarely talk about zombies here. But I thought it was kind of interesting and pertinent because we've got this idea of, again, from SciTech Daily. This is January 17th, 2022. Scientists discover how to halt and control cellular death process. And again, it's a start, and that doesn't mean resurrection or stopping death itself, but it is a start. It's a beginning. So it makes me wonder about what happens next. All right, and that's what we like to speculate here, and that's what's going on. Again, I got a few minutes for you if you want to jump in here and say hi. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Let's make sure nobody's on the Discord here trying to talk to me. Nope, we're good. All right, so let me tell you, I promised a World of Warcraft story, so let's talk about that real quick. So interestingly, right, in terms of the micro, the macro, and so, again, we're talking about the universe maybe in its death throes, as some of this one theory in particular is describing. After 13.4 billion years, it's at the end. 65 million years from now, it will snap back and start the contraction, right? The great bounce, or whatever they call this thing. And so if that's the case in this instance, is the universe itself in that death throw? And so we think about the universe in terms of, well, this construct we're in, whatever this is. Some people believe we're actually in the Matrix and in computer servers, and me and you are just computer code. Other people believe that it is like you see it, and we're people and souls and all the rest of this lucky mud. Other people say they're like, the soul is that's an archaic idea. Are you kidding me? We're just lucky mud. We just we're here because of the crustaceans and how they, the evolution and the crustaceans, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like, it depends on who you ask. And I think that's the beauty of life in general, is that for one particular question, you can ask it to 1,000 people and probably get 1,000 different answers. And I think that's why in particular terms, it's more interesting to me, the questions, than I think the answers, because if you're doing it right, the answers that come from the questions sort of beget more questions. And I think that's the whole idea here. That's what I like to do, and that's what the show's all about. So back to that World of Warcraft story. So back to the micro, the macro. Whether in a universal construct of like actual physical proportions, digital proportions, or something else entirely, check this out. If you guys remember, we're moving into the metaverse, all right? The metaverse is goggles you put on, and it's sort of like you look around and you see not yourself. You could be a carrot, or you could be a pencil, or you could be, I don't know, Mike could be an astronaut, or whatever, right? Like whatever your metaverse avatar is. But check this out, right? In terms of the metaverse, once people start adopting it, like I said, my prediction is within 5 years, people will be working full-time in the metaverse. You think Zoom is a thing now, working from home? Well, imagine in your on-the-clock time, you have to have this thing on, and you're sitting there in like a virtual boardroom with your colleagues, right? And the boss and all the rest of this, right? And on your break time, you can take the thing off and go to the bathroom and in your house or wherever your rubber room or wherever they have you confined, is my point. And you can take some time off to give your brain a break. But think about this, right? What about, so we know about actual, we're talking in terms of like World War Z or maybe The Walking Dead, or things like this, maybe even like a Maximum Overdrive back in the 80s, where the comet came and sprinkled some dust and the machines came alive. Like, who knows, right? Who knows what's really going on here in the end? But what I mean is that if we're talking in terms of some pathogen or some sort of even digital disease in the metaverse, what happens when a disease actually sort of runs amok within a digital construct, right? Now check this out. This is nuts. This gets even more crazy. If you've never heard of this, this is called the Corrupted Blood Incident. And this happened in World of Warcraft, a video game. Listen to this. The Corrupted Blood Incident was a virtual pandemic in the MMORPG, that's massively multiplayer online role-playing game, World of Warcraft, which began on September 13th, 2005 and lasted for 1 month, a whole month. The epidemic began with the introduction of the new raid Zol Gurob and its end boss Hakar the Soulflayer, When confronted and attacked, Hakkar would cast a hit point draining and highly contagious debuff spell called Corrupted Blood on players. All right? The spell, intended to last only seconds and function only within the new area of Zul'Gurub, soon spread across the virtual world by way of an oversight that allowed pets and minions to take the affliction out of its intended confines. By both accidental and then purposeful intent, because people are dirty, those dirty anyway, purposeful intent, accidental and purposeful intent, a pandemic ensued that quickly killed lower level characters and drastically changed normal gameplay, as players did what they could do to avoid infection. Despite measures such as programmer imposed quarantines, the players' abandoning of densely populated cities, or not just playing the game, it lasted until a combination of patches and resets of the virtual world finally controlled the spread. The conditions and reactions of the event attracted the attention of epidemiologists for its implications of how human populations could react to a real-world pandemic. Oh boy, there you go. That was real. That was a real thing, and I remember back when that was happening. My brother and I were talking about that, and that is absolutely wild. Now think about that. Inside of a digital construct, a pathogen escaped, a digital pathogen, and despite the efforts of the very developers who created, well, the ill-coded pathogen, elephant in the room, it escaped and literally ran amok in World of Warcraft for an entire month. Patches, server resets, people rage quitting and logging out because they couldn't even play anymore. It took an entire month to stop this sucker down. So, well, welcome to the crazy world we live in. All right, as we finish this, you know how this goes. It goes a little something like this. More craziness on Troubled Minds, because why not? Nobody's doing it, so we need to be doing it. Talking about all the crazy, nutty stuff that's happening, not just in our world, but the metaverse. What about the multiverse at large? Well, I'm not qualified, but hell, who is? So we're going to talk about it, and I'm not apologizing. If you love this stuff, please share the ideas, share the show, share the fact that we can get together and have a conversation and laugh at ourselves and talk about amazing things and still be friends tomorrow. We don't have to agree on everything to be friends, and I think it is one of those bizarre things where it should be common knowledge, but the media government complex wants us to hate each other, and I don't think that's necessary. I think it's a good thing for us to get together and talk about amazing things, and that's what's up. So as we finish, it goes a little something like this. We do 2 hours on the Fringe. We do a third hour off the Fringe. So if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. And as we finish, it goes a little something like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. All right, what's up? Again, too much. Have I done it this time, Michael Strange? You've gone too far. You've taken us too far off the rails, over the cliff, upside down, and now we plunged into the ravine. How are we ever going to get back? Well, if this is heaven, I don't want to go back. Let's just stay right here. Loving the thoughts, loving your guys' calls, loving the great chat. Thanks for loving the ideas here. I don't know. Again, I am not qualified. I am not prepared for those ones who play World of Warcraft. I played a little bit, so I'm a little familiar with all that stuff. But the thing is this, right? It's fun to consider all the possibilities. It's fun to sort of step out of ourselves into that multiverse, into that metaverse, or maybe a combination of the both. And like we talked about Neuralink last night, when it all comes together in this bizarre conversation, this is what you get. Welcome to Troubled Minds. What we're going to do is we got a third hour coming up. We are now off the fringe, commercial free for the next hour, unless, of course, you're on the podcast feed. So sorry about the commercials. It is what it is. And here's what we're going to do. 2-minute break. We're still taking your phone calls, 702-957-1037. Looking at my watch, we're about 2 minutes into the music, which means 2 more minutes before it ends. 2-minute break. More Trouble Minds on the way. 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More coming up. Oh boy, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D Live, and Twitter, and we're just hanging out and talking about all kinds of craziness, including, yep, you guessed it, the corrupted blood incident from World of Warcraft. We can talk about that. We can talk about zombies in the multiverse. We can talk about that. We can talk about this cellular regeneration to the point where we can actually stop cells from dying now. Well, I don't know. Where do you want to take this? And that's really the question here. Open-ended, non-linear, however you want to think about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's stretch the imagination and consider all the things. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Like I said, at some point, I don't know. Like I wonder if I go too far with some of these conversations. And what's up? Robert says, if the powers that ever be managed to lure the masses into accepting brain chip implants, the result will be a global population of zombies because the chip will erase all human emotions. And yeah, that's not good. That is not good. That's not good. Real life zombies, right? You can talk about technological zombies. You can talk about zombies in many capacities. But I think the interesting part of that is a lot of things. Do you want to talk about transhumanism? Do you want to talk about the multiverse? Do you want to talk about zombies? Do you want to talk about cellular regeneration and the ability to stop the cells? See what I did there? I almost said stop the souls from dying. Stop the cells from dying. And I don't know. You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. You know how it goes. So that basically the third hour is for you guys. So if we don't have interest and everybody's like, nah, talk more, Mike. Well, I get tired too. So this is not a threat. But if we don't get phone calls, we will end a little bit early because I do plan on some of those. And that's literally the entire reason we do the third hour is just to hear from you guys. So love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Let's go through a little bit more of this. Back to this corrupted blood thing. Think about that in terms of how the actual idea of the World of Warcraft happens, and that the coders themselves could not actually get into this as a they couldn't stop it. They created this thing again, the corrupted blood incident. It's pretty wild. Read about this. I'm going to link this in the chat if you guys haven't heard of this. But think about that in terms of an actual construct of like a digital construct, right? Like things get away from the developers. Things actually get away from the people that are, let's say people or the entities that are creating the construct itself. So, well, think in terms of recency. I don't know. Think in terms of, if we're talking construct and we're talking human history, think in terms of the Black Death. Right? That shit got out of hand, like ridiculously out of hand. So if you wonder if it's got anything to do with this corrupted blood incident from something from the World of Warcraft, I don't know. Right? Again, some more stuff to say that, clearly, if you're like the developer of a system and you introduce something that was just running amok, you could, code patch that shit and just reboot the server and fix it. Oh, yeah? It took them a month. It took them a month. Because here's what would happen, right? They would do that. So it would happen to me as a low-level player character in World of Warcraft. I wasn't playing at that point, so I started after this happened. But my brother was telling me all about it. It was a wild story. But what would happen is somebody would come into town and they'd pull out their pet that had this thing. So their character had died, resurrected, but the pet still had it. Then they were able to bring their pet out because the pets are basically immortal. And they'd go into town and they'd pull out the pet. And then the pet would have this pathogen, this corrupted blood, and spread it all over these towns, Ogrimmar or whatever I always played Horde. Sorry for you Alliance noobs, but I always played Horde. But so you bring it into like the largest like digital cities, you pull out the pet that has this pathogen, and everybody got it. So what happened was people got tired of just dying over and over again, and the game became unplayable. So some people just logged out and didn't come back for weeks. So once they patched this thing and fixed it and rebooted the server logout state of these players still had this thing. So they would log back in and reintroduce it. So there was like literally no stomping this thing out. And it took their own developers about a month to stamp this thing out, speaking in terms of like digital pathogens. So that's a whole other thing we could talk about with zombies and whatnot. I see you there. You're good. So we're, again, the third hour is for you guys. If you guys want to be part of the show, love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. The Night Stalker. What's up, my friend? How are you tonight? What's going on?
What's happening, brother?
You know,
good show.
Thank you. Weird shit on a Wednesday, because why not, right? Why not?
Yeah, just casual Wednesday, just talking zombies from space and other dimensions, and
exactly,
that kind of stuff.
Right?
No big deal.
Exactly. Tell me again. You're one of those like forward thinkers, considering all the nutty stuff out there. Have I gone too far this time? Does this one talk the space octopus, or is that still?
No. There's it's pretty tough to beat the psychic space octopus from the center of the galaxy or whatever. That's a pretty high bar. But no, this is just some great maybe juice as usual. I got a couple of thoughts if you want.
Sure, go right ahead.
First, like the idea of a zombie virus from the multiverse is cool, and they used it, and I'm pretty sure in Marvel Zombies. Like I didn't read the actual. It's one of the many comics that I own, but I haven't read yet. But they did their own version of it in Marvel's What If, the animated series that came out a few months ago. And so every episode of that series was just like a one-off of like a different universe in the multiverse. And in this version of it, just something, they didn't really show the origin of it, but essentially just what happens if the Avengers get taken over by a zombie apocalypse. Like, how do you possibly stop that? And essentially, like, it's not really a spoiler because it's the same in the book, but like you don't stop it. It's just, it takes over everything. And in this case, it's like, it comes from something called the Hunger, which like landed from space, but it came from like another dimension, like another universe in the multiverse. Maybe like, they don't know how, they don't know where it came from. This is like Robert Kirkman wrote this. So it's just like a kind of like a Elseworlds version. It's like, it's not connected to the main continuity, but it's just like the guy who made The Walking Dead wanted to make a Walking Dead for Marvel. So they don't explain like if it's some kind of type of alien designed like virus to go make zombies, or if it happened naturally and just spread throughout the multiverse, or what happens. But it's pretty cool, the idea that it comes from elsewhere.
Yeah, well, and again, so where?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I think right, like the questions are easy. The mind blowing stuff to me is like the easy parts. Like, okay, wait, but why, where, who?
I know.
Especially when you start thinking who, like who's behind all this, man. Oh boy.
Well, like that theme keeps popping up. The idea of like a space virus or like zombies from space and stuff. I know Kirkman said like after the comic ended, they're like, you never told us where the virus came from. Like on Twitter, they asked him, and he responded with a tweet, 2 words, space spore. That the whole Walking Dead started with a spore from space. It's not actually in the comics, but that's apparently his headcanon for it. And then, like you said it earlier, but Zack Snyder made his Netflix zombie movie last year, or like earlier this year, or whatever. And the opening scene is this military vehicle coming from Area 51, and like an accident happens, and the truck like rolls off the road, and the zombie escapes and starts the whole pandemic. And then that kind of just happened with this weird monkey thing that truck full of monkeys that just got that lady sick that ran off the road recently.
Oh snap! I could have done that too. That shit's happening, isn't it? Like, no, go ahead. You tell the story.
You can do a whole monkey show. You can do a whole weird what's going on with the animals. Like, honestly, like the monkeys are freaking out. Like the deers, like apparently the deer are getting like absolutely. They're like a third of the deer in Ohio have COVID.
I saw that.
There's talk about like vaccinating the deer. And then, like, monkeys are just going insane. Monkeys are killing dogs, and gorillas are fighting chimps for the first time. And there's like there's a lot of weird animal stuff happening. That's a whole other episode if you want, for sure. Yeah, but to the zombie, like so. Joe mentioned Stargate, and it got me thinking. Like, so what if like the Goa'uld, instead of inhabiting, like, you get some kind of cosmic parasite, some space parasite, that rather than invading living hosts, just invades dead hosts. Like, wouldn't that be a pretty efficient way for a parasite to move around the universe? Is like, it wouldn't be really, why would you wouldn't really care per se. It would be efficient. Like, you wouldn't have the resistance you would have if you were like violently taking over a person's consciousness. If you were just going to like worlds that have been extinct and then like taking their corpses and using it to like get around. It's interesting, and it might be something that's happening. Because it seems pretty efficient. I wonder if it's actually happening somewhere in the cosmos. You know,
yeah.
And like you mentioned,
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish this up.
No, you mentioned World War Z earlier, and that's kind of my favorite way that zombies are depicted in movies. That they look like, it's not like you have like a person that woke up, kind of. It's like, and now they're like a living dead. You have almost just, it looks like a hive mind that's just moving around using like human vessels, and like the way that the zombies kind of all pile up on each other and like stack up to try to reach, like to climb over walls and stuff. Like, they don't act like individual zombies. They act like just one collective, just that just happens to use a human body to move in physical space. That's kind of what I wonder is happening. Some type of like parasite or consciousness or some kind of non-physical thing invading just dead husks and using dead shells to like move around in the physical space, you know?
Yeah, which would sort of be like fungus, right? Like, isn't that kind of what it does, right? And not only that, like I've read, and this is probably a whole other show all by itself as well, but I've read that like the largest organism on Earth is a living fungus. It's like sort of like underneath like entire forests are like this huge, like massive life form that all those, you know, like mushrooms popping up under the trees and crap you see. It's not just itself, it's part of this huge organism that lives underneath the ground. Is like massive, like miles big type of thing. Like, yeah, that shit's wild, right?
It's like already doing that. There's already all kinds of funguses and parasites and stuff that invade hosts and get it to do ridiculous things. And like, I think there's one that actually makes, I don't know if it's like cicadas or something like that is actually zombifying things. It's invading a host, getting it to like kill itself, and then using the dead shell to like walk around in, basically in the insect world. It's already like, that already exists. So you just got to ramp it up a little bit and get it to start piling around giant mammals, and you have a zombie virus right there. You know, and like didn't either Baba Yaga or Nostradamus predict 2022 was a zombie virus or zombie apocalypse? Or something
I read that. So the thing is, with some of that stuff, I read that in a headline, but I don't think that stuff's true. So there's also another, just for everybody out there, there's a Nostradamus thing there where they say that something basically at the level of archons, like the others, or something like that, some kind of quote, but it's completely fake. It's fake because if you go, if you go trace the shit back to his actual writings, like they're like, oh, it wasn't in his writings. He was reported to have said that during his life. Oh, from what fucking source? Who's still alive that lived with Nostradamus? You know, I'm just saying, not, you know me, I love the maybe juice. I love the maybe juice, but for fuck's sake, please don't just make things up. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the internet.
No, I know.
Like, don't just like make up a
headlines taking over.
Yeah, make up a quote of some bullshit to like make a, like, we'll talk about it, sure, but also come on, like let's at least root this in like a quatrain that dude wrote. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So I don't know. Let me ask you this then. I think in terms of like viruses, wouldn't it make more sense? And again, right, like we're learning now, new information has just come out, new theories where there's like they say that they think evolution now isn't, the mutations aren't random. Like that just kind of hit the news, right? So it's not, so basically, right, back to intelligent design at some point, right? At some point, our cellular biology and our DNA memory knows what it needs, and it's trying to make those things happen, right? So that becomes a whole nother show all by itself. But in terms of like a pathogen, meaning that, like you said, it would be super efficient for them to like sort of feast on the dead. Wouldn't it make sense, very much like the common flu, if a pathogen wanted to just survive forever, it would be like just mildly irritating and just not be deadly at all, right? That would be the ultimate goal of a virus, is just like, it's irritating, it's a couple days of, you know, people get the flu and they sniffles and whatever and the fever, and that's it, and they're over, but they pass it on to the next person, and that shit lives forever. But if there's a mutation comes that makes it deadly, it starts actually by killing hosts, jeopardizing its own future. So I think in terms, if we're talking about like genetic intelligence and mutations in those manners, if our DNA is now suddenly at risk of that, well, it's not random, it's somehow pointed in that we need to get from here to there, and we know it. Think about the intelligence level of what our host body is, and I say that because we're meat suits to our soul. But I mean, if that's the case, then pathogens are doing this too, aren't they?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we're already a collection of different biomes and bacteria and I believe viruses and stuff. Like there's all kinds of people get into all kinds of philosophical discussions on like what's actually making our decisions, or what actually is consciousness. If you have, like, when you get cravings for food, your brain's not telling you that. It's your gut biome has cravings for things. Like if you're craving sugar, that's because your stomach is telling you that. So that's not your decision. So people wonder, like, how many of those decisions or thoughts that you're having is actually can be traced to organisms that aren't you. But are they you? And like they're on your body and stuff. Like that already exists. That's just what a human being is forever. Like them so it just ramp it up. Like we always just think we're the center of everything. Like we're like we're the point of the universe. And like what if the true like dominant force of this planet is really the fungus, the parasites, the thing that like lasts forever. Like if you zoom out and take the whole history of the earth, it belongs to the viruses and to the fungus, like the things that eat the dead stuff, you know? So, which is just an interesting thing to think about. But like for like a symbiosis, for like the efficientness of somebody using dead bodies to like as vessels rather than a live body. Like if whatever our soul is already doing that, couldn't something else do it? Like would, like the way we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, and then the plants take in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. Wouldn't it just seems like there'd be something that would? It's weird that the life and death thing only works one way, and it's just like and just the way organisms and stuff will eat a dead body, like, or a dead organism. Like if a deer dies in the forest, it will be gone because different organisms are going to use it. What if just one parasite evolves the ability to use it by, instead of eating it, just takes it to walk around, you know? Yeah, I don't know. And then how close to that is to like AI, and then you start getting into the metaverse stuff, and what if a computer virus uses that? What if a way the AI wants to escape the computer is like, okay, well, it's pretty tough to get into these living hosts. Like we tried putting chips in them, we tried making them really dumb and like dissociative personalities to try to like invade their body and walk into their body. But like, I don't know, let's just use dead bodies instead. It's a little bit grosser, but let's get out of the computer, you know. And it's like it's like an anti-life equation type thing. There was a zombie comic like 2 months before the pandemic started. Marvel and DC both had simultaneous big zombie events over the summer, and then DC's version was using the anti-life equation, this like cosmic techno virus that turns everybody into flesh-eating zombies and stuff. So what if it's something like that, like a techno parasite? You know, I'm rambling, but
no, you're good. No, I got some. You're not off the hook just yet. If you got a little more time, you're okay. You're not working.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, yeah. All right. So in terms of that, right? So we're talking about how like a parasitic sort of pathogen would ideally mutate, all right, but then it becomes, right, so you can think about the world in many different ways. Is it an organic world, right, with, again, we're talking about the fungus and like the huge organisms underneath the forest and shit like this, but is it also back to that digital construct? And I know you heard that story about the World of Warcraft. Have you heard of that previously?
That's so, no, that was wild to me. That's really crazy to me. Yeah.
So they coded it and it got out of control, and it took the developers patch after patch after server restart just to get shit back in order. So think about that in terms of, what about since 2012? What if shit went off the rails with the God particle experiment, and it actually happened, and since then it has been patch and reboot crazy style for maybe 100 years to fix this shit.
I know. Yeah.
What if we're living in that world, right?
I know. Yeah, that's crazy. You're talking about got me thinking about the World of Warcraft thing. Like, what happens when we do start to create more of like a transhumanistic world where people are replacing their like Musk thinks that he's going to start shipping people this year. He thinks it's like going to happen this year. You just talked about it, and like, I mean, when we have that in our head, can something, obviously not this World of Warcraft virus, but can something like that, some out of control code, then infect humans? Like, is that how it starts? Is that how it starts? Like, we I don't know. But that's essentially what the anti-life equation is, kind of like the way they use it in the story, like this techno parasite. I have a thought. I'm trying to. When you're talking,
okay.
It got me thinking.
That's all right.
I'm trying to remember what it is.
Need me to talk some more, or can you talk your way through it? You tell me.
If you have. No, save me real quick, but I can stay for another second.
I got you, brother. All right, so we're still talking about this cellular death, string theory, zombies. We've introduced this idea of, so what about a pathogen? And not just a pathogen in the sense of maybe zombie style, like a World War Z or something like that, but what about a digital pathogen? We're talking about this idea of the corrupted blood incident that happened in World of Warcraft back in, wouldn't you know it, this was way back in September 13th, 2005, where they actually had a digital pathogen escape into a sort of a multiplayer world that it's huge. Just like when Joseph called in earlier, he's like, I remember I played once and I ran for hours, right? Just in a single direction, never came to an end. The world was so damn big. And then my brother smacked me off the computer and said, stop playing. No, you're not allowed anymore. You need to be doing something. Running in one direction is not acceptable. But the point being is the world is so gigantic that they released this pathogen, this digital pathogen, unintentionally, and it crippled their servers and their entire game, which, by the way, Blizzard, at the time and since, has amassed more wealth than many third world countries in the world. Like literally, it's one of those huge corporations. As a matter of fact, I think Microsoft just bought Blizzard. Did you hear this?
Yeah, it's like
65 billion, something like that.
Yeah, they describe it as the same thing. It's like the video game version of Disney buying Fox. But it's like an absolutely massive thing that just happened. Yeah, and that just went down. That just went down. And so not only that, they got it on a discount because Blizzard has been racked with all kinds of Blizzard, of course, created World of Warcraft and Diablo 2 and some other games. Very, very big, made tons of money. Yeah. But they've been hit with a bunch of lawsuits because of, wouldn't you know it, sexual harassment and all kinds of other weird shit going on. So the value of that company is taking a huge hit because of those things. So Microsoft is buying it on the cheap at like 65 or 68 million or something like that. So imagine what it wasn't on billion.
The cheap. Oh, billion. I'm sorry. You're right. Billion. Yeah. So imagine if it wasn't on the cheap. Would that be a $100 billion company? I don't know. Anyway, that's an absurd amount of money. But okay, you had a thought. Did you recollect? Or did I derail?
I lost that original one, kind of.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Like, it's tough to talk about like viruses because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and that really I don't want to get into. I was more thinking like a symbiote, like the Goa'uld, like the snake thing that just it merges with it. It just uses it needs to get around. It needs like a vessel to physically move around. So obviously, but if anybody doesn't know, and then but it faces a lot of, it's the villain of the show. It faces a lot of like people being like, you can't do that to me. You can't steal my consciousness. You can't take over my body without my will. So what if it evolves, or some other thing evolves the ability to do that to something that's dead, and you just go from planet to planet and just I'm not sure. So for the virus, what if we find a virus? What if we're trying to like create immortality or something like that, and we find whatever this thing is that's able to like use? I don't know. It's a pretty good start to like a pandemic movie. Is trying to find a virus that will prolong life, but instead it creates death. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the opposite.
I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought.
That's okay. Real quick before you go, one question for you. Robert says this over on Rockfin. Do viruses have souls of their own?
Yeah, I mean, like what is the soul? Like the way we talk about, or I'm talking about like a parasite riding around in a human husk. Like that's exactly the same way I talk about a soul riding around in a meat suit. You know, like what is a soul if not like a spiritual virus, like a god virus? That's spread through procreation. You know, like what's the difference? You know, besides we haven't like pointed into an organism that causes it. You know, but some type of metaphysical organism. Like what if? And just I don't know. What if? Like I believe in. It's not a belief per se, but I like the idea of the neutral monad. Whatever this all is, whatever the source thing is, just acting in order to like through infinite vessels. And this, what if it gets to a point from our perspective where it starts taking vessels that aren't quote unquote alive anymore? Like it's just consciousness experiencing itself as like something walking around in a dead husk that doesn't need to like stay alive like that. Like I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like I don't know. Life force seems to be primary, but what if like the simulation breaks and like the death force takes over, like Flash style, like the Speed Force? Like what if like this death force takes over and it's like death starts waking up bodies and like ensouling bodies with like a death soul? So I'm like, this is like a crazy fantasy garbage take I'm talking about right now.
No, what are you talking about? You know, this is brilliant.
We're going there.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Everybody in the chat's like, keep rambling, Stalker, keep rambling. I love it, man. We love it. No, don't. Again, don't discount yourself. You're brilliant. You have an idea of. Before I'm gonna derail you. Go ahead, continue.
No, that's it. Basically, yeah. Just what if there's something we can with the Nick Hinton 2012 thing, like it's. Like, what if we are living in a simulation and just something like the coder, the programmer messed up and causes some kind of glitch that causes like dead people to start waking up? It's not even really a virus per se. It's just all of a sudden just like what's going on? Just like I don't know like we don't know what is the mechanism that creates the spark of life. And what if something in the quote unquote simulation glitches and the spark of life starts like popping up in things that we think should be dead or are dead from our vantage point, you know? Like that's a weird zombie virus to have to contend with, you know?
Hell yeah. And that's how I think the alien invasion will go down. Not a shot will be fired. They'll drop a random rock from the sky. It'll be covered in some sort of perfectly genetically made pathogen. They've already pre-prepared because they've been mutilating cattle and abducting people for decades or hundreds of years or thousands of years to get the exact DNA mix necessary. And then the thing will hit innocuously in, I don't know, Iowa. And then boom, snap your fingers. The end of the world. Aliens, move on in. You're the best, brother. I know I'm stretching your time here, and you got shit.
No, I'm good. I don't want to ramble too much.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, again, like I said, you're one man's garbage is another man's treasure. And so
Thank you, bro.
You think it's rambles, man, and so many people out there are just hanging on every word you're saying. And it's true. It's true. Brilliant Stalker doesn't know brilliant Stalker is brilliant. That's okay.
Thank you, bro.
That's okay. We appreciate you a great deal. So I don't know. Thank you. And great thoughts on this too. It takes us different places, and that's the idea, right? That's the whole idea of this: is you begin the conversation and hope it goes to these crazy places in terms of all of it, like frickin' all of it. Multiverse zombies, for crying out loud. When's the last time you heard that? Probably not often.
Not very often.
Not often.
All right, awesome stuff though. I'll take off.
Appreciate it.
But
you're the best.
Bro.
You're the best. Derek in Massachusetts. That's a nice stalker. He's got a YouTube channel. Check it out. Scroll down, links in the description, and you can find Derek's channel. He has a trailer, basically, and when we say Night Stalker, it's Stocker. He actually stalks a grocery store at night, and so he's making fun of himself a little bit, but as you see, it almost doesn't matter, because making fun of yourself a little bit is okay, because if you're brilliant, isn't it? And that's the way this goes. So we're still talking about this. What about this cellular death, string theory, zombies? What about the idea of this? What about this sort of maybe idea of a digital pathogen? Things like this that happen in World of Warcraft, that corrupted blood thing. I don't know. There's a ton of stuff here. What's going on? I don't know. You tell me. Again, answers are easy. You know why? Because an answer is silence. An answer ends the conversation. But a question, if done appropriately, properly, it elicits more questions. And that's what this has always been about. We're not trying to get to the point where we have answers for anything. It's just, hey, like, let's take this to the next step, and see what all this actually may mean. And you know what? This is the craziest part, right? Like, somebody might listen to this today and be like, this dude is fucking insane, right? Well, long after I'm gone, somebody please come back and fact check these shows and find out how far off I've actually been. Because why the fuck not? All right, we're still taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the show. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link. Thank you, Derek in Massachusetts. Let's go to Tate. What's up, brother? Tate on Discord. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for popping in here. Let me know what your YouTube. You volunteered to be a YouTube mod as well. Let me know what your YouTube is, and I'll make you a mod there as well. And just send me a message after. We don't have to make the thing now, but just let me know.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And, but go ahead. What are your thoughts here? Go right ahead.
A quick follow-up, if you will. This is intriguing to me. I'm a Blizzard fan. I didn't play Warcraft, but I played Diablo all those years, and this is really cool to me. This shows me how, like, they created the game, and then they, in their delusion of grandeur or master plan, they said, hey, let's do this. And then, just like every other thing that we do in a hurry or with only looking one direction, it got out of control and it actually hurt them. And I think we can see this over and over and over in everyday life even. If you're in a hurry to get to work, you forget to turn the coffee pot off. That's very, very small, but you see what I'm doing here, right?
Yep. There's tragic examples of that I'm not going to bring up because they're pretty brutal. But yeah, I see where you're going. Continue. Real quick, before you finish, we're here with Tate right now. I forgot to finish. Night Stalker has a YouTube channel. Links in the description. He's just got a trailer. Give Night Stalker a follow. Let's inspire him to make more content. He thinks he's rambling. We're hanging on every word. Links in the description. Sorry, Tate, go right ahead. I forgot to finish that. I started to say that. I forgot because I distracted myself. And, well, go right ahead. Sorry about that.
I had to take notes, too. He inspired me.
See?
The two of you made me think about the whole... in fact, that Warcraft thing, and it made me even think of Jurassic Park, too. They made the dinosaurs, they couldn't breed. And what was the whole point there? Life will not be deterred or cheated. Or death, for that matter, right?
Right. Life will find a way. Indeed, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorites.
Kind of it. I don't know. I lost my track, too. Oh, but lastly, and you guys covered this as well, but the symbolism in Hollywood, I mean, they have been programming us, and even the Bible basically speaks of zombies. I mean, it's a metaphor. I know it's a stretch, but guys, there's something coming undead for real, right?
Well, it seems like so. You think of it too, resurrection and zombies. I mean, this is Troubled Minds, and I don't mean to be blasphemous, but the first Troubled Minds Christmas show we did was about the resurrection of Jesus, right? Because is that or is that not a zombie? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, right?
By definition, and so again, please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be blasphemous or obtuse about it, but like in terms of definitions, I think that's what that is, right? And then we got an ascension thing that happened after that and all the rest. But at some point, he became a living flesh and blood vessel again after he had expired. And so again, not to chase down that rabbit hole, because that's just an ugly place to spend your time. But in terms of those definitions, now we're talking about this saving cellular death. Like, what does that mean? So you've seen Vanilla Sky, right?
I'm sure I have. I need to revisit that.
Okay.
I'm sure I just don't remember enough.
I can brief you. It's no problem. So the spoiler alert, this is like a 20-year-old movie, so sorry. I'm spoiling it, and you guys can, sorry, not sorry, right? There you go. But it starts with like a car accident, all right? But then it doesn't. It's like everything's fine after the car accident, and he gets out of it, and it's all good. But it turns into this really bizarre sort of dreamscape type world, where it's kind of like a little bit like Total Recall, sort of that Philip K. Dick idea. But what ends up happening is, in the end of this, he's in a dream world. So the car accident actually put this man in a coma. He was super rich, and he was just basically like a just an asshole, just a rich asshole, right? One of those guys, you know those people that drive BMWs and they run stop signs because they just don't give a shit. They're like, fuck you, give me the ticket, and I'll, you're wasting my time, right? It's like people that just don't respect other people because they're sort of sociopaths, and that's clearly and obviously how they became rich. But then there's the second part of that, in that he was that guy, got into a car accident as a result, lived in this bizarre ass world called Vanilla Sky. The skies were like I described that 2011 sky or 2012 sky on December 21st, if you heard that part. But they were unreal skies every night, and everything was a surreal sort of like state of being. But what it was is he was actually in a coma from that car accident, and they were keeping him alive in some state of until they could bring him back, actually like bring him back to real reality. But the life he was living was fake. It was all sort of this dream mode that they had like sort of pumped into his brain to basically take on the people he knew and the things that he'd experienced and create. And like from that moment of when everything went dark in that coma moment, a past or a future beyond that moment. And so when they wake him up at the end, they give him the choice, and they say, look, your fear of heights is your biggest thing, and you told us that you don't want to wake up unless we take you to the top of this building and you jump off, because you would have to be so convinced that we told you the things were true that you would jump off of this building, and that's when you wake up. And we're telling you that we've tapped into your brain, and in your brain, right, you make that decision. And we're telling you right now, your resources were considerable when you were young. Considerable time has also passed, and so your resources are dwindling. So we don't know how long we can keep you, justifying the cost of keeping you on these machines. So they're telling this guy this, and he's like finally sort of Total Recall style understanding that, holy shit, this has all been just like not a dream. It turned into a nightmare at some point. And then so what does he do? He jumps and he wakes up. And that's Vanilla Sky. And so my point there is that there's the brief of the movie, but are we stuck in that sort of thing? Like if you freeze somebody now in sort of that cellular, being able to stop that cellular death, is this where we're headed? That's Vanilla Sky, is it not?
Man, that is profound and deep. And I can't help but think of movies like The Game and other theories about this whole abyss and this stop breathing and Cross the Lake, all this other random shit. There's a lot of ties to a lot of random things, isn't there? Yeah, and I think that's the problem, right? My opinion, the problem with a lot of conversations is they're so limited, they're so linear. It's like it's how they want us to think, in my opinion, and that's why. Exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. So it's like A, B, C, D, vote red, vote blue, right? It's like, no, fuck you. I can reject all of that. I don't have to take any of that, right? Exactly. And we haven't had to do it yet tonight, but something I try to be mindful of is that whole paradigm shift. Like, exactly, we are programmed to think about zombies a certain way or death a certain way. And whereas this is a bad example, but there could be a paradigm shift, a big one, where we would embrace death or we would embrace life, right? I mean, birth is a good thing generally, but maybe death would sometime be the desired choice. I can't think of a good one. You know what I'm doing here, though, right? Yeah, no, but that's the point, right? And there are some, like you would call them cults, that actually tell you to embrace death because they control you, right? They control your, if you die in early life in the name of such and such, this or that or the other, the movement, then, right, you're guaranteed heaven, things like this. You're guaranteed eternity, right? So it is, you see exactly what you're saying is control. Just like that other thing is also control, because you are controlling what people believe about life and death. And if you can control those terms, those definitions, 1984 style definitions, newspeak. Oh yeah. If you control the notions,
You control the people, and that's what this is about. And so, so great points there. What do you think about the string theory zombies and cellular death? Am I too far here? Have I gone a step too far, even for troubled minds?
No, man. You're provoking thought. That's all. That's all. And I love it.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
Hey, pleasure's mine. Anything else first while we got you on?
No, appreciate it.
You're the best, brother. Appreciate that. Let me know. Send me a message about what your YouTube channel is, your name on YouTube, and I'll make you a mod there. Appreciate it.
All right, Mike. Thanks.
Thanks, bro. Have a good night. That's Tate on Discord. I'm not even sure where he's from, but doesn't matter much. The Tate from Discord. Appreciate the call. All right, so we're still taking your calls tonight. We're talking about this, right? And it's funny how even when you talk about the nature of reality, it could be organic. It could be, press your face and you're like, oh, look, I'm human. Press my face, right? And you're like, oh, yeah, my brain's in here, right? Or, well, what if this is all some sort of bizarre digital construct and none of that's actually real at all, and we're something else? I don't know. Like I said, I don't have these answers, but I think it's fascinating to actually consider that the place we are and the place we're going is not what we've been taught, And like I said, I don't have those answers. I think the appropriate questions beget more questions, and that's why we do this, and that's why we do it in this format to talk to you guys. What do you think? Let's read the chat for a sec and hang out. So the thing is, I'm supposed to hear from Beechwood tonight. I don't know if you're out there, Beechwood. You're supposed to get back to me. We're supposed to do a Beechwood show tomorrow, but if I don't hear from you soon, man, I'm gonna have to crank out my own thing, and we'll have to schedule it for next week. So it's no problem. But let me know. I don't like waiting to the last minute because time ticks. I start to get nervous if there's something I got to do and there's something that ain't going to happen. So if you're out there, Beechwood, I'm talking to you. Get in touch. If not, we'll just reschedule it for next week or whatever. Whenever it's good for you, it's fine by me. But okay, so as you know, and the reason I say that also is because you guys know this. If you've been listening, you're invited to be on this show, right? Again, no concept is too large. No concept is too large for me. I'm ready to tackle it. Even if I literally, like, you think about it, and I can stretch my mind many ways, and that's a good thing. Does it make me have answers? Absolutely not. But by considering things, I think you ask more questions, you consider more things, and then you expand the mind. And I don't think that's what they want. I think in terms of human terms, I think they don't want us doing that at all. And that's why things like this is like, I don't know, what do you call it anymore? Digital blasphemy. That should be a t-shirt as well. At some point, right, the powers that be don't want you challenging the processes they've spent thousands of years putting in place to control people. It's all control mechanisms, and that's why kind of talking in terms of this larger construct of whatever it is, whether it's meat suits or digital. You see behind me, right? You see, I can just change my digital whatever it will. I haven't got my green screen perfectly yet. Like, you got to dial it in with perfect lights and whatnot, but like, the point is that, look, hey, there's some weird shit going on that if we can start doing stuff like this. Robert on Rockfin said, hey, Mike, you don't need a TV studio. You got one right there. Yeah, well, smoke and mirrors and digital technology. But so point is, you guys are invited on this show, and you got me. So if you think that, I couldn't spend 30 minutes carrying my story, it's fine. You got me. I'll interject. I'll talk about what you're talking about. We'll give you some time to collect your thoughts, bring some notes. You guys are all invited. Like I've always said, this is not about being some UFO celebrity or consciousness celebrity. We've heard from those people. They're doing the circuit. They're talking to all the people in the circuit and doing their thing. And so my point is, isn't it more important at some point to just talk to people? Just talk to regular people, not people who consider themselves experts or have written books. But if you do or have, that's fine too. But if more important to me that I'm me, you're you, and together we're us, and that's what's up. So anyway, I don't know, cellular death, string theory zombies, probably off the rails a little bit even for troubled minds, but that's okay. I'm not going to stop. If I can find threads like this and make wildly fantastic tales, I'm going to keep at it, because again, it does expand thought, and I think that's the most important thing with all of this. It's just think in consideration of yourself, the digital construct, the maybe meat suit, physical construct. Is there a divide there? Can it exist in symbiosis? That's a whole nother thing there. That's crazy to think that both. Maybe there's an organic and a digital construct working together to some greater end. That right there in and of itself is a wild thought. Maybe that's a whole nother one. I got to take a note of that. But you tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. Still taking your phone calls, 702-957-1037. I have no idea. Nope, nobody on Discord, nobody on the phone. All right, I got a couple more articles we'll get to, and then we'll wind this up. Let's see. So we got this. Where do we start? If you're just joining us, you probably don't need to recap, because if you're here for the third hour, you've probably been listening for quite some time. But I don't know. So what about that idea of the CERN business? That's pretty wild, right? All right, so let's do this. Just to reinforce some of the things I'm talking about tonight, I found this as well. And this is one of the ones that we were talking about previously. The universe's expansion could end surprisingly soon, say cosmologists. The universe is not only expanding, but accelerating away from us. Now, a new theory suggests this could all stop sooner than anyone imagined. Again, 13.4 billion years. They're saying 65 million years, this thing's about to stop, and then it's about to reverse on us. Here we go. So, in another scenario, they calculate that the, quote, time interval remaining before the end of acceleration is less than the time since the Chicxulub asteroid brought an end to the dinosaurs. That's just 65 million years. The blink of an eye in cosmological terms. This is bad news for astronomers, however. Even in the expansion, if it ended that soon, astronomers would be unlikely to see evidence of it. Quote, curiously, we could not detect the oncoming dramatic cosmic events given the best available observations today, say Andre and company. That's because all the evidence comes from distant objects that emitted light many billions of years in the past, such as supernovas and the cosmic microwave background, which is an echo of the Big Bang itself. These objects won't show evidence of this change for a long time to come, although the authors suggest there may be other ways to look for it. So check that out. Are we talking about the actual reverse of the universe itself? Ninja style, meaning maybe it already has happened and we haven't even noticed it yet. That's the craziest part. Again, and I think in human terms, human scales, and this is part of why I don't like prophecy, is because it's another control mechanism, right? It's another way to tell people that the end is next week, or the end is in a year from now, or 10 years from now, or whatever, right? You give people timelines and they start sort of changing the way they live based on the timeline of the predictions, right? And that's why I hate predictions. That's why I hate people that say, well, I know the answers. That's why I hate that stuff. It really gets on my nerves. In any case, we got this. So the universe's expansion could surprisingly end soon, all right? 702-957-1037. Got about 10 minutes left if you want to jump in here. If not, we can end a little bit early because, well, why not? And it's our show. We do what we want. Nobody tells us when to stop, and if you got things to say, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. There's more. Let's see. Here's another one that what kind of got me thinking in terms. If you scroll down, actually, all my links are going to be on YouTube. By the way, for the people on Rockfin, I would put all the links on Rockfin as well. But the problem is that you can only put so many characters in their description box. So again, send information to Jamie. Tell him to expand that, and we can put our sources. I will link every single one of these sources on Rockfin as well, and that's why it's not there. It's not because of me. I try. It's because there's a 1,000 character limit. So that's all we can do is what you see over there. But all these links are actually on YouTube if you want to check it out. Let's see. Go back to the what's up? Lily's got a right servitude. Obey your masters, right? What's up? Ox Yuki, don't let them catch you on the way out. Right, exactly. Let's see. What do we got? Hold on. What did I miss? Let's see. Yeah. No implications, guys. I'm not taking any offense to anything you guys say out there in the chat. I can't read it all. I try my best, but I can't read it all. But here we go. Here's another one too. I want to add this to the mix because this was actually, again, super wild because all this happened in the last 10 days. All of this stuff hit news cycle in the last 10 days. Check this out. January 25th, 2022. The universe is not symmetric. Right? It sounds like a troubled minds conversation. The laws of physics obey certain symmetries and defy others. It's theoretically tempting to add new ones, but reality doesn't agree. Well, it depends on where you're at in reality, right? So during the 20th century, the recognition of certain symmetries in nature led to many theoretical and experimental breakthroughs in fundamental physics. However, the attempt to impose additional symmetries, while theoretically fascinating, led to an enormous series of predictions that weren't borne out by experiment or observation. Today, many claim that theoretical physics has stagnated and it's clung to those unsupported ideas. We must face reality. The universe is not symmetric. Oh yeah, maybe we'll get a university grant to lecture from I don't know, Cornell or something, from Troubled Minds, broadcasting from a circle assault at Cornell University. Oh geez. Anyway, there's some interesting stuff here. Again, if you're into this like I am, read some of this. There's some mathematical things that suggest that the shit ain't like we think it is. And that's part of the whole point. That's part of sort of stretching that imagination, having these conversations. What's going on? Let's see. Robert says, let's see. Wow, I just watched the Night Stalker trailer. That's an amazingly professional video. I subscribed. And a link to the trailer. And I'm going to link that. Thank you, Robert. I'm going to link that into the YouTube as well. There you go. Watch the Night Stalker trailer. You can watch Derek crushing some stock and thinking about amazing things clearly. He goes into a zone and just crushes the stock and thinks about, well, multiverse, string theory, zombies, because why the fuck not? So where we go? Where we go here? We did that. Cells fight to stay alive long after the body dies in what they call the twilight of death. Scientists discover how to halt and control cellular death process previously thought to be irreversible. And as apoptosis destroys unwanted cells, mitosis, which is known as cell division, makes new cells. While they may seem to be at odds, apoptosis and mitosis work together to keep us healthy. For example, our skin and hair cells are renewed via a continuous cycle of apoptosis and mitosis. So are the cells lining our intestines. Because new cells replace old, worn out ones, our tissues remain healthy. So what happens when they're able to maybe stop some of those ones and prolong, I don't know, things? Well, then we get zombies. We're going to get zombies. There we go. We got zombies are real. I don't know. Anyway, looking to hear from you guys. I can ramble on and ramble on. You know me. I can talk like a... I can talk. But anyway, let's. All right. So we got nobody interested anymore. We'll just wind this sucker down. Got 5 minutes. So up to you. Again, it's not extortion. It's just I'm talking, and I've been talking for 3 hours. So I appreciate the folks that have called in tonight. Thank you so much for being part of the chat out there. I see you guys, and do give Night Stalker a follow. All the amazing people that are part of the show. Robert also has a great book that I just finished reading, by the way. Good stuff, Robert. I appreciate all the time and effort you put into that. Thank you for sending me a couple. He sent me 2 copies of that, by the way, and thank you very much for that. I was thoroughly enjoyed the stories. A bunch of short stories. I think probably, what was my favorite one? I think my favorite one, I don't know. There's a lot. I'm going to think about it. I'll get back to you. But I definitely had a favorite story there. It's just too many good ones to decide from. But again, Robert has a book, sort of a link in the description. All the amazing people that call into the show on the regular, if they have something, again, like I said, if you have something and you call, basically, look, it's just a trade. You call in, you think about what we're talking about, you consider it, you give us your take, and you do it from time to time. I'll plug your stuff, right? It's as simple as that. Because, right, you help me, I'll help you. And I mean it. Like, ask anybody who's been any part of this. I mean it. I'll do that for you. So you do that for me and us, because this, again, I'm me, you're you, together we're us, and that's a powerful thing. Then I'll just drop your link in and talk about it. So it's all good. And if, like I said, the list grows too big and we can't fit it in, we'll make a whole web page and we'll paste it in and put it up and do all the things. So it's all good. So as we finish this, let's get the hell out of here. We're doing our thing and talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. You tell me, is it too much? Is it not enough? Do you think we should have gone hypothetically multiverse, zombies, in a digital construct, in the meta multiverse? How about that? That's a mind fuck. I'll have to think about that one just to try and set it up. Just to try and set it up in terms of whatever the hell that even means. But okay, so there you go. If you want to be part of the show, if you love the show, just spread the word. Just spread the word. The good old fashioned word of mouth still works, even though the algorithms try and convince us otherwise. That's not the case. Good old fashioned, just letting people know that there's a conversation going on, and we can be part of this, and it's all good. It's fine. Yeah, it's okay. You're allowed to chicken out. It's all good. I see APOC. No problem. I get it. A shot of whiskey. Get a bottle and just take a shot, and then call like 10 minutes later. That'll do it. That'll do it. And you don't have to start a drinking habit. Just bam. Maybe juice. Maybe juice. All right. So what we're going to do is we'll be back tomorrow night again, Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, Troubled Minds. Again, but don't forget, Troubled Minds is plural. It's not singular. And it's not the troubled mind of Michael Strange, though you could make a case for that it's very troubled. But Troubled Minds means us, and that's the whole point. That's why we get together and do this in the open forum. So thanks for all the great phone calls tonight. Thanks for everybody maybe landing an ear to a wild, I don't know. Anybody ever been to Disneyland? I don't know if they still have it, but in the old days they had that Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I feel like we're on that wild ride every night. It's just like it turns left when you expect it to turn right. The train coming down, and you hit the train, and then the big light flashes, and it's incredible. Anyway, so please spread the word if you like the show, and here's what we're going to do. We'll get the hell out of here. Let's see. James in the chat says, so I says to my girlfriend with a wooden leg, Peg, I says, it looked like I got to break it off. She cried. Okay, well, that's a shame. That's a shame. Thanks for the call, Tate. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Let's GTFO. We're going to do this. We're going to play this music. We don't have any outros, so I'll just have to wing it. Well, it's okay, because I wing it all the damn time. You see this? You see this face? See this face? Do I look scared to you? Yeah. I'm going to wing it. We're going to do this. All right. So as we finish, thank you again for all the amazing chat and thoughts. Thanks for all the enthusiasm. Thanks for pressing these conversations forward. Thanks for not caring that we're off the rails 2/3 of the time. Thanks. I promise when I say all these thank yous, I'm not running for office. Not going to do it. It's a waste of time, and that's my opinion anymore. Sorry. Send a letter to your senators and your representatives, and you'll find out why. They won't answer you. They'll send you some bullshit form email. They don't give a damn. They're going to do what they want to do based on the cook the book statistics they're looking at. Yeah, right? Yeah, and that's the way it is. Sorry. Anyway, that's a whole show. That's a whole other show in itself. But all right. So as we finish, it goes a little something like this. Please spread the word. Let people know. If you want to help the show, we got a few ways to do it. If you want to spend some money, thank you. Gypsy Soul, I believe, signed up to Patreon last night. Thank you for that. I don't know who that is in the chat. Let me know, and I'll say a thank you, an actual thank you to you out there. But you can sign up for our Patreon. You can sign up for Rockfin. You can sign up for support us monetarily on Twitch as well. But again, it's not. That's the more important thing is you spread the word. You spend your time and energy with us. You lock your brain in and just let go of the real world for just a few hours and hang out with me and hang out with us. That's the most important thing. You spend your time and energy here when you could be doing 10 million other things. I'm honored by that, and I appreciate it very much. And there you go. If you want to help the show and don't want to spend any money, that's how you do it. Spend your time and energy. And also, you can listen to the podcast feed. There's ads baked in, and I get a few cents every time you listen to one. So if you do it, go to iTunes, Spotify. Those are the two biggest ones. Podcast Addict, you name it. Wherever you get your podcasts, if you listen to those, go back and listen to some old ones that maybe scroll through and see. Mostly, they've been in this format recently, so we've been on Fringe basically a year, right? I think tonight or this week has been our 1-year Fringe anniversary. So for the past year, they've been in this format with the bumper music, and clearly, right, as everything evolves, hopefully they get better, so maybe the older ones are a little less good and a little more good now. I don't know. You tell me. You be the judge of that. I'm not judging this whole thing because this whole thing is always evolving, so you can't judge evolution halfway through, can you? So as we finish, if you want to help us out, listen to the podcast feed. Spotify, Podcast Addict, iTunes, wherever you listen to that. Sends me a few cents each time you do. So please do, and let's get the hell out of here. So what we're doing is this. It goes like this. As we finish, I'm Michael Strange. This is Troubled Minds. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.